new and exciting, but I'm
you've
talking to my favorite people.
You've also listened to every single episode, so you're basically already part of the Endless Endeavor.
Almost.
Before we get started, I wanted to give you some products because that's what I do when people come on the show is guests. And I also know you already love Cured Nutrition CBD.
I do.
I don't have any Rise for you, but I have some Zen.
Thank you.
And then you like the oils too, right?
I do.
There you go. Two things of oil.
Thank you.
And then for you too, Christy Campbell.
Thank you.
But she got 2 and you got 1.
That's okay.
Which isn't fair, but life's not fair sometimes.
She's podcasted before. It's cool.
It's okay. This is her first podcast. Yeah.
No, so me and Rachel were talking right before you got here, kind of the idea of like a subset of the Endless Endeavor is going to be the Jiu Jitsu Chronicles. And I'm going to do Jiu Jitsu Chronicles. I don't know. There's no schedule whenever the fuck I want to. But I'm thinking, going into the holidays, and I'm sure you have a podcast, you're probably very familiar with this, is sometimes like scheduling guests or traveling or through the holidays, it starts to get kind of tough, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I need 2 more shows before the end of the year. And then I started looking at people on Instagram and like, who do I reach out to? And then I just had this epiphany. I'm like, the most interesting, coolest motherfuckers that I know, I see every day on the mats. That's my community. That's the coolest fucking people that I've ever met. And I've done a lot of cool shit in my life. Mm-hmm. And I always say jiu-jitsu consistently puts me in touch with the best people I know. I was like, well, let's just start bringing the team on.
Yes.
Because when I talk about jiu-jitsu on the show, I get a lot of feedback and people are interested in jiu-jitsu right now because if you try it, it changes your life and people feel that and then they want to learn about it and they want to hear about it. And so I was like, all right, well, let's get the ladies on. You guys are the mamas of the academy, my highest ranking females, right? Like, well, she's more of the gym mama.
Yeah, she's.
You're more of the I'll kick your ass.
I don't know,
mama.
I don't know about that.
And then I was like, dude, you know what would be cool is have guys on like some newer people that are new to the journey.
Yeah. Have
like a round table with coaches.
I like it.
I'm gonna do a round table with my Ukis.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Zach,
like
Jake,
it.
and Skylar.
Yep.
You know what I mean? How cool of an episode will that be? And just getting everybody's perspective and like what got them into it, where they're at, what the hardest struggles are, all the stuff that's jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
And so welcome, Jiu Jitsu Chronicles #1,
Thanks.
the ladies.
Thanks. This is awesome.
Fun.
Christy, the reason I say that you're the purple belt that'll kick their ass if they show up is because I always talk about like, I always use that as an example. Like if you don't train and you have a female purple belt on top of you, that's a fucking problem,
Yeah.
And I didn't get to go through the experience of getting my ass kicked by women because when I started jiu-jitsu, there was hardly any girls, have you ever trained with Cindy Hales? Do you know who she is?
I attended a seminar that she put on.
Okay. So she's a local black belt and I think I forget.
Sleeper, right? Isn't she at Sleeper?
Is that her academy?
Yeah, I think it is in Linwood.
No, I think she's in Bellevue or Kirkland or something. Maybe she moved. I don't know.
Nevertheless.
She was a female Dirty Dozen. So that means one of the first 12 American female black belts.
Wow.
And she was in the scene like right when I got into it. And so it was like, there was hardly any women. And so now if you start jiu-jitsu as a male, just prepare to go to the academy and get your ass kicked by women.
At least here.
That's funny. Is that the clinic that you went to?
It was a Girls and Geese event that I did down at Logic. And it was her and somebody else.
Okay.
Interesting.
So anyways, we have Rachel Anderson, one of my savage blue belts.
Not Greg's wife nor his sister.
Yeah. No relation. Although she may want to be both of those things. Is that weird?
Nope.
And Christy Campbell, who's been on the podcast a couple times, was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute
on for a while.
No.
And now you're a purple belt. And I love the fact that right when you started, you told me my goal in jiu-jitsu is to one day be a purple belt. Mm-hmm. And now here you are.
It's crazy.
And just because you got your purple belt, that goal's not completed.
No, it moved.
Yeah, as I knew it would. I say often that if you tie a purple belt around your waist, there's a good chance you'll have a black belt tied around your waist. Because what it takes to get a purple belt is a commitment, and an understanding of what jiu-jitsu is. And I don't think you can arrive at purple belt unless you've fallen in love with it. And once you fall in love with it, there's no walking away, shy of a catastrophic injury or something, you know, which you've already had. So that's not even.
So many of those. So it's fine. Yeah, it moves because you start. I think when I started, I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a black belt. It was just like, let me just show up today. That's all that it was. And I feel like that's all that it continues to be. Is like, let me just show up today. Black belt felt not even a thing at first. It just felt like, let me just learn something.
Yeah.
And then let me learn something else. So then purple belt, when I first started, felt like I could see it, but it wasn't impossible. But it's like, maybe one day I'll be a purple belt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tough for people when you're 10 years old, you don't know what you're going to do when you're 20. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or the same thing when you're 20, you don't know what you're going to do when you're 30. But it's a 10-year journey to black belt.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does seem almost unobtainable. And I tell people all the time, that's exactly right. Don't think about belts. Don't think about the color that's around your waist. Just show up. And I wish this was mine, but it's a Joaoism. He's like, there's no secret to black belt. It's just show up. And if you show up enough, one day you'll be a black belt.
Yeah. The show up rule is the best.
Yeah.
It's also the hardest part.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely the hardest part. I mean, you know, this past year, like life's been difficult. And so sometimes just showing up was the hardest part. Like just getting myself here between juggling the kids or like whatever's going on in life, like getting here was the achievement. And then doing class, I'm like, okay, I got it done, but it was just get here.
And that's something that I think never, for me, the showing up part, it never got easier. Until I opened my own academy. Now it's like, well, I got to show up because someone has to unlock the doors.
Yeah.
But even like all the way through black belt, when I was a brown belt in California, it was a daily thing. It's like, oh, fuck. Okay, let's go. And it's like, yes, it's fun. I enjoy it. But I also know, man, I'm going to have a rough evening because that's how practice can be, you know? And then you walk through the door, you put your gi on, and now all the nerves are gone, or all the excuses, or all the things going through your head. And now we train. And it doesn't matter how hard it is at that point, because now we're here and we're doing it, you know? Rachel, I kind of know what got Christy interested in jiu-jitsu, but I want to hear what made you want to initially step on the mats.
Here or in general?
In general.
That is a long story.
Well, good thing we have 2 hours to talk about it.
So, unlike Christy, not an athlete over here. Rachel Anderson, not an athlete. Shocking, right?
You are now.
I am more of one now, but I didn't grow up doing sports. I don't even think I would consider myself to be moderately athletic as a child. Like, I recall t-ball probably around first grade. And that was about it. Then junior high and high school came around, and I tried a sport, and that was about it. Fast forward, I fell in love with group fitness. And then I started, I was a body pump instructor for 10 years. And it's not as exciting as it sounds, but I taught a group fitness class a couple of times a week.
You can't sit there and say you're not an athlete, but you instruct fitness classes. Those two things are not congruent.
It was a class. So it was low weights, high reps to music. So it's choreographed, super fun. But like at the time, I wasn't doing enough in addition to that to be like physically fit and athletic. I was moderately toned. But
what do you consider an athlete?
You?
No, well, what, I mean,
but
what?
like
it's such a subjective term, really.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more continuous, like team sports and just being more active. And I don't think at the time I was active enough. Now I do. Like now I feel like I train for jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did my group fitness. I had my kids. My family and I actually experienced a fairly traumatic loss that kind of led me to like, okay, now what? So my husband is a police officer, and we lost a very close friend of ours. And that was essentially the catalyst for everything. So we lost him in October of 2017. And then we were just kind of still muddling through our healing process and our grief. And
that was Matt's best friend, right?
Yeah, that was Nate. Yeah. And that was obviously a really traumatic time for us. And my friend Julia Valencia, who is co-owner of Raider Tactical, they do EP and firearms training and self-defense seminars and yada, yada, yada. She was hosting a women's self-defense seminar. And I signed up for the course, not wanting the self-defense aspect of it. Like, I was like, I'm scrappy, I can handle myself. But I wanted to be in a room with somebody who understood, if I broke down, this is why. And I went just to kind of hang out. And what I ended up getting from the course was way more than I bargained for. So,
well, that's what you always hear from people that think there's something.
Yeah.
And then they attend training and realize, oh, those are some massive misconceptions.
Well, what was really funny was I've joked for a long time, it was love at first strike. And we were just doing basic striking drills. And it was like, man, it feels really good to hit some shit. And it was as if like that type of training made sense. I was like, oh my God, finally, like something where it's physical and I can use a little aggression and learn something. And that really made sense to me. So from the self-defense class, I started doing a course called Pathfinder Combatives that's taught by Eric Schmidt. And he used to work at the port. Okay. So it's a very, very small world. So he taught a defensive tactics class that I still go to this day. And that's what kind of put me on the path to figuring out what I liked. And that class is awesome because it's taught by people who've gone through CJTC. They're firearms instructors. They're in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. Like, they've got incredible training. So we would do a little bit of groundwork. We would do stand-up. We would do weapons retention. Like, you name it, we do it. And it was really fun. And that's where I met Steve Courtney. And then Steve obviously worked with you at the port. Mm-hmm. And it was obviously during COVID, and it wasn't registering for me who you were. Like, I saw your Instagram post. I followed. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I donated to your GoFundMe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. But it wasn't.
Hopefully it wasn't more than like $20.
We don't need to talk about it. It's fine. It wasn't registering for me that you were local.
Okay.
And Steve was like, well, Greg's Academy is not very far from you. I'm like, whoa. That Greg? He's like, yeah, let me take you up there. And I remember he's like, let me give you his number, text him and just make sure it's cool. And I remember texting you and I'm like, that's weird. Well, he's a busy dude. You didn't respond. And then we got up here.
Well, let me just say, like, for the first month or two after that video, because my phone number is public.
That's the funny part.
It was fucking crazy. Calls and text 24/7.
And while I don't doubt that, Steve accidentally gave me your work phone number. So I text you your work phone and
my
you
work
didn't
phone,
have it.
My work phone was seized from me.
Right. So yeah.
I'm not a piece of shit.
No, never. Anyways, we came up here. I don't remember if it was a Wednesday or a Friday, but it was June 19th, 2020. And Eric and Steve brought me up here.
Dates. I love it.
Yeah. Eric and Steve brought me up here, and I'm pretty sure we were doing, inside De La Hiva or something that was just absurd to me on day one.
Yeah, perfect lesson for a day one white belt.
What am I doing here? But yeah, I never stopped coming back.
Do you like inside De La Hiva now?
I'm better at it than I used to be. Okay. Better than day one, but not much more.
What about jiu-jitsu made you want to stick around, though? If you're doing striking and weapons retention and everything, because I've done a lot of, the whole gambit of martial arts or police tactics, all that stuff.
Defensive tactics is awesome.
Yeah, but there's something about jiu-jitsu that was always, even when I was fighting MMA, the groundwork was like, this just feels right.
Well, there's a couple of things. I feel like number one, like, you can't fall down when you're on the ground. Like, you're already there.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, from that perspective, like, you've got your stability, you've got your mobility. Like, it's a comfortable, safe place to be.
Which people are going to hear that and think it sounds fucking nuts. But if you understand the ground, it actually does feel safe.
It really does.
It's like Hickson Gracie says, like, the ground is an ocean and I'm a shark.
Yeah. I'm a flounder, but that's okay. We don't, it's fine. Like, for me, and people's mileage is going to vary. I believe that most fights are going to end up on the ground. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense to me.
Especially most one-on-one altercations, And I think that's like statistically proven.
Yeah.
So, and then from just having some kind of innate pull to ground fighting, you were fucking, you say you were love at first strike, but you were also love at first inside De La Riva.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you've missed a Monday, Wednesday, Friday since until last month you slacked off a little bit.
Yeah. I'm pretty darn consistent.
What number of practices are you at now?
I think 460.
She counts them
Yeah,
all.
she counts them all. She has anniversary dates.
I do.
For everything.
It's awesome.
But it makes it special because like as adults, like we don't, yeah, we celebrate our wedding anniversary or whatever, but also it's almost like my weird spreadsheets are a journal.
Uh-huh.
And it's fun to keep track because I know that was 460 however many times that I got off my ass and made the drive.
And think about like how many hours that is, because it's not 460 hours because our classes are an hour and a half, right?
Well, between that and like other training, I remember my first year doing DT, we figured out that I had like twice as many hours in training as a civilian than people do coming out of CJTC.
Of course you do. Like that's,
and I was like, okay, let's keep going.
That's not even up for debate. You train on your own 3 days a week, you will surpass every police officer in the country in no time.
Yeah.
You know. What about you, Christy? I know you've told the story before, but initially, what was it that kind of pulled you to say, I want to try this?
Well, you and I met when I was coaching CrossFit here. And so I saw jiu-jitsu. That was my first exposure to it, was just seeing you guys come down disgusting in sweat. And I was like, that looks interesting, but that part looks terrible.
Did it seem silly at all?
No.
No? Okay.
It just seemed gross. It did.
Some nights it is.
It really did. Like that was the impression, but I was interested in it. And at the time, I was really committed to changing my body physically from a place of being like super overweight and not in a good spot to being fit and healthy. And I was doing CrossFit and I was coaching CrossFit. And I went to the East Coast because I was running a CrossFit gym there. And I remember I had two buddies, one who was a black belt in Taekwondo and one who was a black belt in Marine Corps martial arts. And I remember telling, I don't know if it's belts is exactly the same, but they had trained a lot.
Those are two very vastly different things.
Very different things,
Yeah.
but they have belts is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have black belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah, the
and
MCMAP program.
Yeah. And so I remember telling them, hey, I always want to do jujitsu. And I said, one day I'm going to do it. And they're like, and they were very encouraging. So we even put together 2 defense classes at the CrossFit gym. Like I asked them, would you guys do it? And we like did a CrossFit / it was a mixture of like striking and some Marine Corps martial arts stuff. And I just really loved it. And the funny thing was I got into this like thing. So it was totally fun, but it was at my going away party. It was with one of my best friend, a guy best friend, his fiance at the time. And she was super physical and like fun sport girl. And we're like, we're going to do the things that we learned at the class. And we just beat the shit out of each other at this party. And we were wrestling and they're like, you're doing nothing. This is nothing. Like what you guys are doing is like, and it was fun. And
yeah, of course. You had one class.
Right.
Of course you're not doing anything correctly.
But it was they were joking, but
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
like we were drinking, so they thought that we were gonna like hurt each other. We were just being ridiculous.
It hurt less.
Jiu-jitsu does come out at parties when alcohol is being served
Yeah.
fairly often.
I've used it.
And so it was, but she, similar to Rachel, was down for it. It wasn't like a girl who was just like, oh, don't touch me.
Yeah,
She was like,
you guys
"Let's
were
play."
you were roughhousing.
Yes, like,
And that's completely
fun.
normal for men.
Yes.
Like that's half our life growing up. But you don't hear that from 35-year-old women.
No,
And here both of you are saying, man, the first time I did it, it fucking felt good.
it was fun. And I used to play this game with my brother and sister growing up. We call it the triangle game, and it was like the last person standing wins. And we would just like throw each other to the ground. I liked to play like that, but not as an adult. Like that wasn't ever anything I did as an adult. So coming here, I was still interested, but it still felt like, one, I can't do it because of my knee. I've had 10 knee surgeries from my time in the Navy. So I was like, that's probably not safe for me.
And her knee doesn't bend past 90 degrees.
Not past 90.
And that's fucking, from someone that my whole guard is butterfly hooks. That's off the table.
I
Pretty
have
much.
one butterfly.
That's what I'm saying, but it
It's a gnarly
completely,
one.
it completely changes the way that you can apply jiu-jitsu as opposed to how I can apply it, but that's also the beauty of jiu-jitsu.
It is.
Because it can be injury or mobility or size. Everybody has a different capability, and then you got to figure out what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you guys have met the new girl. I want to say her name's Asia. I shouldn't fuck that up on the podcast, but has cerebral palsy pretty bad.
Oh, yes, I did meet
yes.
her. I did do.
And, like a lot of people probably beat around the bush on topics like that. And she's like, I just want to see if I can do this. And I said, well, you know what? Your body's your body. Your issues are your issues. And the only way we're going to fucking know is if you put a gi on, you get on the mats, and we fucking try it.
She has short hair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, so let's fucking go.
You know what
dude, she's
loved
all in.
You know what I loved about her, and I didn't know. I knew there was something, but I didn't know what. And
Was that before or after you collar dragged her?
I called her. I know this is what I'm going to tell you. I threw her to the ground 3 times, and I picked her back up, and
Oh,
she
crap.
just kept playing. I was not hurt. I didn't throw too hard.
Okay.
But you didn't know that she had.
No, and I'm not.
And you know what? Good.
And I
Good.
So I was teaching her because she was like, I have no idea what to do, and I'm like, okay, so let's just start from standing, and we'll just do a little hand fight. You're going to try to get grips.
Yeah.
So when I got grips on her, I took a big back step, and she went straight to the ground. And so then I picked her back up by her collar.
Yeah, your collar drag is strong.
And then I was like, let's do it again. And it happened 3 times. She got back up every single time, and we just kept going. She
That's
was
awesome.
I didn't know, but I also, people who baby me because of my knee, it doesn't help me.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to hurt her, but I'm not going to, I didn't know, but also I kind of knew.
You felt there was an issue for sure.
But I also
Yeah.
felt like I could safely do that with her.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to hurt her, but that's what she signed up here. That's what she came in the door to do.
exactly.
And so, yeah, I did not know that she had cerebral palsy, and I'm glad that she's here.
Fuck
This
yeah.
is great.
it's going
And
to be very healing.
She wasn't like that first time that she fell. She could have just been like, "All right, that's a wrap." You know,
Yeah.
I didn't expect that, and she didn't. She got right back up.
That's awesome.
It's fucking cool.
Um,
But going back to your knee, yeah, that's
yeah, it's a thing. And before I started, it was like a reason that I shouldn't, because it was like, oh, well, I'm going to get hurt, or I can't do this because my knee doesn't bend all the way. And clearly you have to be able to bend your knee. And so now with my knee, and I'll tell you in a second what made me actually start, but with my knee now, I just listen to the instruction for whatever it is. And if it's something I'm suspicious, I'm like, I don't think I can do it the way you just described. I'll still try. And I'll ask, usually Rachel's my training partner, but whoever it is, I'll be like, I don't know if my knee will do that. And so like, just let's go real slow. And sometimes the answer is it might actually over time. And sometimes the answer is no. And so then I got to figure out my own way. So then it's like, well, what's the point of this? And then maybe I don't need my knee to bend to get to the point of this.
yeah.
And so that's kind of my only strategy, because that's the only option. It's not like, well, I'm not going to learn how to do something. Like I'm not going to learn how to choke you from this position because my knee won't bend. I just have to figure it out. So even we did something the other day. It was like Wednesday. I don't know if you were back yet from your surgery. But
I didn't see Wednesday's class.
It was a class, and I'm not even sure if you were here, but it was basically like you were trying to pass the guard, and someone gets hooks in, and you essentially slam their legs to the ground
And hop them out?
sit on their feet.
Oh, sit on their feet. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I told my training partner, I'm like, I can't drill this with you because my leg won't bend. And so
If someone tries a technique like that on you live without understanding, does your leg just stop, or is that potentially dangerous, like pushing your connective tissue?
I think both. It stops, so it hurts. It's like if somebody takes you to end range in your shoulder.
Yeah, okay.
It's just there's nothing left. That's what it feels
Because
like.
when I fight you, I don't feel any weaknesses.
Well, there are plenty, and I might just
Yeah, or,
hide it.
you know, like,
There are none.
You guys make it sound like I'm better than I am, but my game is mostly just to be annoying and like.
Bravo.
yeah, but here's the thing too, because I'm sure just like every other purple belt, when I called you up and tied the purple belt around your waist, there's probably things in your head saying, I'm not ready for a purple belt.
Right.
Right. Of course. Because in fact, if you don't feel that, that tells me something's off. You know, very rarely when a promotion comes through are people like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm ready for that. Let's do this. You know, like if you're a normal human being and you're wired correctly, any type of promotion should come with a little bit of nerves, right? But make no mistake, like, and I talk to all my black belts too before we do promotions, especially purple belt, because obviously I feel like I have a good understanding of what a purple belt is, but as a team, I want Kozak's opinion. I want Daniel's opinion. I want all, you know, Brown. I talked to my brown and my black belts before promotions, and dude, everybody was on par with that.
That's nice to hear.
And it's because your jiu-jitsu has become ferocious.
You're legit.
It's ferocious. No matter what position you're in, you're trying to attack or sweep, and you'll defend just long enough until you can go back on the offense. And I honestly think, I was actually thinking about this the other day because I've been laid up for a couple weeks, but white belt is like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, right? Yeah. Blue belt, you have a pretty good understanding of jiu-jitsu. You understand how the game is played. You understand positionally where you're supposed to be and where you're not supposed to be, but you don't necessarily have the tools to dictate if you're where you're supposed to be or where you're not supposed to be. Purple belt is where it all comes together. Like I always say, a purple belt and a black belt, in my opinion, aren't that much different, because for you to have a purple belt, I want you to have a full understanding of how jiu-jitsu's, how it works, where you're trying to get to, how you're going to get there, and you have the strategy to get there. And I mean, you know how your rules go. There's plenty of men that you fucking
annihilate.
You know?
I think that,
and it's fucking awesome, you know?
I think the difference for me too has been at blue belt, when you learn something, it's still, you understand what you're being taught, and you're like, okay, I'm going to learn that. And then it doesn't click for a little bit. And what I've noticed,
are you saying like on a live roll?
Or like in just drilling, like you're like, okay, that's cool. I just learned this thing. And then you're going to have to learn it a bunch more times. What I've noticed right now is that if you show me something, it's not that I necessarily get it muscle memory that much faster, but I understand it faster.
Yeah,
so then I'm able to use it.
Yeah, you understand the concept. And also there's a lot, I feel like purple belt is where your invisible jiu-jitsu comes alive. You understand weight distribution and balance and pressure and all the stuff that you can't see. And Rachel, you're starting to pick up on all that stuff.
You are
too.
getting there. And Rachel and I were joking before, when you were in the restroom before you came in, about my hip bones.
Oh my God.
They're
violent. They're violent. She's got very bony hips. I was like, if there's an off chance that I happen to get mount, it is not for very long, because she drives her hip bones.
It's just an anatomy thing. Because I was
from the bottom, you're driving your hip bones up like in a bucking motion.
They're sharp.
And it hurts you.
They're sharp.
So you know what you need to do, Christy? You need to get good at north-south control, where you drive your bony hip right into someone's jaw.
But she will buck from the side.
I made it up.
Dude, and I love hearing that. You're a purple belt now. You should be making up jiu-jitsu.
Here's the thing, is that if you are on your side, no one's expecting you to buck at all. They're not really expecting to be thrown. But if you turn your hip and plant your like one foot and you grab onto the collar, so the collar's the key. So then you drive up with one leg and throw the collar at the same time.
So it's like a collar drag combined with an oompa.
Yeah.
With an oompa.
Okay.
And people have no idea it's coming. So it's like very effective.
Dude,
so heads up, team.
I love that.
Coming.
Heads up. If you think that you have technical mount, I'm probably getting ready to chuck you. But the funny thing is about invisible jiu-jitsu is so she was like, oh, you want the comfy chair? And I was like, no, I have plenty of cushion in my butt. Like I'm good on this like metal chair. And I said, but my hip bones though, because it's just anatomy. It's just the way that they're shaped.
Yeah.
They just stick out. And so I can stick them into somebody's inner thigh.
Good.
And
I like this.
It's not pleasant.
I don't.
Next time we roll, I got another 6 weeks before I can roll, but I'm going to be cognizant of your bony hips and be like, oh, there they are.
Yeah.
You will find them.
The other thing that I like, that I want people, that if you're getting a purple belt tied around your waist, you're of a growth mindset. And I think sometimes people need a promotion to push them into the next phase of jiu-jitsu, because it's easy to be like, hey, I've been a blue belt for a while and I'm doing the blue belt life and I'm showing up and I'm having fun. And all of a sudden you're a purple belt and it's like, oh fuck, dude.
Well, I'm ready to start.
Did you feel that?
Immediately.
Okay.
Because it felt like something, because I coach and I have been a coach for 10 years. So helping people with whatever they're learning is not new to me, but I don't do that a lot in jiu-jitsu. So I just felt like such a beginner, everything was new and kind of, I backwards at first. So the funny thing is the minute that you tied on the purple belt, I felt like I had to get my shit together because I need to be able to show this to somebody. And so if I'm half-assing understanding this, then I can't show it to somebody.
Yeah, purple belt is certainly, you are a junior, it's a leadership position. Mm-hmm. You know, even blue belt is to people that are walking through the door. But purple belt is like everybody at the academy, if you have something to say, they're going to listen to you, mm-hmm. you know? And I think that's, leaders aren't, and it's funny because like coming from the military and law enforcement, all of the leadership traits or leadership lessons that you learn in those organizations, the mats teach it better than any of them, mm-hmm. you know? And part of purple belt is like growing into a junior leader. It's mm-hmm. fucking cool to see.
And I told Tyler this the other day, but I went and helped with the upstairs class for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Day. And I did that on purpose, but I'm like, I have to do this more because when I didn't feel ready before. I don't know. I think it was just my own limiting belief around jiu-jitsu, but I was like, this is how you become ready. You're not going to be ready to help teach, but if you do, then you'll learn it better. You'll know it for yourself. And that's how I became a CrossFit coach you get a certain amount of, okay, now you can go do it. And then it would be time to actually coach the class. And I wasn't prepared. Like if I didn't take a little bit of time before, I would feel unprepared. So I would take a little bit of time, learn whatever it was that I was going to teach that day or coach, mm-hmm. and then implement it in class. And then it would become much more, I don't know, ingrained in my brain. And so I think
For sure.
I will approach that the same way, is that I don't need to know everything. In fact, it's great if I don't, because each time that I'm going to sign up to be up there to teach or help, then I can just do some homework and practice and learn the little details so that I can make sure that I know them.
Yeah.
And then that's part of evolving.
Well,
and growing.
I mean, you already pretty much said it verbatim in regards to you learning to coach CrossFit, and you'll find it in jiu-jitsu. And you guys know how there's like seasons of jiu-jitsu where you feel like you're just absorbing everything. And then there's other seasons where it's like, I can't fucking learn anymore. Like, is my brain stop working? And then there's everything in between. But what I have found is one of my biggest seasons of growth is when I opened this place, because I was forced to every single lesson, every aspect that I was teaching, I had to anticipate questions. I had to think about things differently, because doing the move when we're live rolling is one thing. Teaching it is like a completely different part of your brain, and it really helps hone your own game. And the more I coach, the more I get better. And it's weird because sometimes I'm like, do I need to be like, I'll put the 2 minutes on the clock and we're going to do Toriando drills for 2 minutes. Should I be doing that with the team? Because I still want my jiu-jitsu to grow. Mm-hmm. But I also don't think that's fair. I need to be walking around, correcting, talking to people, making sure the people are paying to be here are getting more out of it. And I honestly feel like I grow at a rate either equal or maybe greater than coaching it as opposed to doing it myself. Mm-hmm. So it's funny because Daniel tells me, he's like, bro, you don't drill hardly at all anymore. And Daniel's a drilling monster, and it's all he does. And then he's like, he's been hitting it hard for 6 months. And then we get around in and he's like, we're still fucking like exactly equal.
Mm-hmm. Funny.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing too is just by necessity, I've never been to I've never met a brown belt or a black belt female jiu-jitsu.
Oh, really?
Nope. And I've never been instructed by one. I've never rolled with one.
The vibes aren't the same.
I don't, but
what do you mean the vibes aren't the same?
I mean, I know a lot of people will go to different academies, and I've not done that. I feel like I've visited one in Oregon when I was on vacation, and I did a girls and geese. And like, I'd love to visit Cascade sometime, just because I feel like we just have this great open door policy with them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like it's just like the comfort of home and knowing
For
how
sure.
you instruct and what to expect from other instructors. Like Will's been killing it. Still Will's classes are amazing. Like I know what to expect and it's just the vibes are a little different.
And you know them too.
Yeah.
You know?
But you didn't mean rolling with a upper belt girl is different vibes.
I
You meant going to a different gym is different vibes.
gym, but like I feel like the gals who visit here, granted they're few and far between, like they're skilled. Like we've got that gal from Cascade whose name escapes me.
The purple belt.
Jake's girlfriend.
Okay.
She's really good.
She's a
And-
white belt, right?
Yeah, she's good though.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't rolled
She
with
just
her.
did a comp, and then Olivia, Bill's wife. She's really good, and Mai, of course, but Mai's kind of ours too.
You guys should come down to Fieldcraft with me sometime.
I really want to.
I saw Leia Stumpf was there. I think it was yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we must have got our black belt like the exact same time because she posted her 3rd degree. I was like, oh, I just got my 3rd degree. But I attended one of her classes. She's a good instructor with cool vibes. The Straight Blast team in Montana has like good vibes. And I know what you're saying because you'll walk into some academies and it's kind of like, fuck, what's going on around here? You know? But I would love to have you guys like get some training or some rounds in with her.
That'd be fun.
Because it's
That'd
just,
be
you know, the
and I want to
female,
roll with Casey too. I never got the
Yeah.
opportunity.
the female energy is just different, you know? Did I tell you the first time I met her, she was wearing a breast cancer awareness
Yes,
belt? Yeah.
I do remember this.
No,
And so I didn't know that was even a thing. And so I was like, dude, that must be a really, because it was like a shade of pink. And so my jiu-jitsu brain's like, that just must be a really, really, really old purple belt that's faded. And then we rolled and I was like, fuck, dude, this does not feel like a purple belt. What's going on with this woman? And I asked Andy afterwards and he goes, bro, she's like she won worlds at black belt last year. She's a fucking monster. I was like, all right, I feel better
her
about myself
faded
now.
purple belt.
Well, I mean, the Gracies have that hot pink one that they do for one of their women GST type things. So,
Dude, there's a lot of, I mean, the breast cancer awareness thing is like, hey, we're showing support to a cause for a very finite amount of time, right? That doesn't seem unreasonable to me.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff that's coming down the pipe with belts does feel unreasonable. Like there are some teams that are incorporating adult green belt in between white and blue.
That's weird.
It's like, how do you just change the jiu-jitsu protocols? And anytime, and I saw it with the kids ranks too, because kids used to just be white, gray, yellow, orange, green, and that was kids belts. And then they started incorporating the third.
Yeah.
Each belt has 3 belts now with a middle stripe. And I decided we just decided this actually last week because kids promotion are Monday and Tuesday of this week. I'm going to do solid belts for the kids once
that's
they
awesome.
hit yellow. That's it.
cool.
Because what I think is going on with new belts being introduced into jiu-jitsu is the money side of things. Not only the money side of things, like you're selling more belts, but you're also like, oh, look, you got a promotion. Hooray. Let's celebrate. Like keeping people.
But
like,
then you're hyper focused on
like
the belt.
exactly. Putting that carrot in front of people like, hey, your belt's right there. Fuck your belt.
And I love that you don't do stripes for the adults.
Yeah, dude, who gives a shit what color your belt is?
I honestly
I didn't even
don't.
know that's a thing. And so it's so funny because the stuff that we do here, we start from standing. We don't do
We
stripes.
know no different.
So when other gyms are like, my friend who he's probably phenomenal, but he got a stripe and he was like put on Instagram. I was like, what's that mean? I don't even know what it means.
I also had one of our athletes, I can't remember who it was, but he visited another academy and he came back. He's like, Greg, dude, you're not going to fucking believe what they did. They slap and bump. He goes, then the dude sat down.
No, absolutely not.
And I was like, bro, dude, that is actually the standard. That's not the exception.
That's crazy.
You know, but I come from Joao Assis and he's like, if you don't have wrestling, you don't have jiu-jitsu. And he's like, dude, to win ADCC, he had to join elite wrestling camp in Southern California. He wrestled every single day and grew to the mindset where it's like, if you can't take people down, you're not a ground fighter.
I'm so glad that that's the way it is here, because I feel like when I first started and I was very intimidated around my knee because I didn't even know, if you had given me that option, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
If you had said, oh, it's fine, you can always start from seated, I would have been like, that seems better. That's probably safe.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you didn't, because standing is uncomfortable for me and always has been. Actually, I spent all of Friday rounds just focusing on standing.
And defending takedowns?
Yes.
Yeah.
And being more comfortable tying up and feeling like the weight changes and stuff, because I don't spend enough time standing. And so I wanted to focus on that.
And I tell people all the time that the amount of growth that you develop in your awareness on your feet, man, you've been doing jiu-jitsu for what, 4 or 5 years now. Mm-hmm. Every single round starts on your feet.
Right.
And so I don't care how many times you've actually drilled a double leg or a single leg, but you now, just by default of hundreds of hours of people trying to shoot in on you, trying to pull you to the ground, you understand base and balance and angles and footwork, and all that stuff becomes second nature. And so that's why it's imperative. And then the other side of it is, like, you have some pretty good guard pulls, right? But to be able to go from a standing position to getting underneath someone with an effective guard, that's an art in itself too. You can't just sit down and be sloppy and now you have good control from underneath someone. You have to get there with like an intent, you know?
Mm-hmm. And my intent is usually to throw them like off balance.
I can confirm that.
I know, dude, I love it. I was actually, it's funny, like, and you guys are both what I would call like unreasonably strong for females.
Thank you.
But I was fucking shocked. Like the first time we rolled, I was like, the fuck is this, dude? Same with Jenny Fuentes. First time we rolled, I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
She's a beast.
Dude, it's funny because we have so many students now. I can't keep track of who I've rolled with and who I haven't. And I'm like, I know this girl's new. I don't remember if I've got around with her yet or not, but let's feel her out, see what she's about. So I say, hey, Jenny, let's get around. The second she grabbed my arm, within a fucking millisecond, I was like, this woman's never touched me before.
Yeah, she's super strong.
It's fucking ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, she's very strong.
Mm-hmm. But it's fucking cool. Also, and I've told you this before, but like we were friends and training together for either like I think a year or two, and then you posted this picture where you're like fucking super overweight.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember I looked at it. I think I was in bed at Jenny. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, because I just assumed you're like a nutritionist, you're a fitness coach, you coach downstairs CrossFit, you can knock out all these fucking pull-ups and snatches. And I was like, I just figured you were a lifelong athlete. I didn't know that you fucking rose from the depths of hell.
Well, it happens. You get to the depths of hell, and that's not usually the plan, you know?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the plan. But the Navy botched a knee surgery when I was 19 years old. They did an ACL reconstruction and they botched it. And that one surgery.
Everybody's shocked right now hearing that.
That one ACL reconstruction turned into 4. So I've had 4 ACL reconstructions on my left knee, a microfracture, a bone graft. And they cannibalized my good knee to try to fix my bad knee. So they did.
So now you have 2 bad knees.
Yeah, they did a total of 10 surgeries, and the surgeries were part of the issue. The issue is that growing up, I loved sports. And so then these surgeries took away sports. Like I didn't feel like I could play soccer anymore. I couldn't do that. And so then I only thought exercise was for weight loss, right? Because I'd seen my mom struggle with her weight. My nutrition was bad. So I gained but I didn't struggle with my weight growing up because I was too active.
I see.
So then when I had all these surgeries, and then fast forward a couple years, I got pregnant with my first son, gained 50 pounds, lost it with Weight Watchers. I ate Weight Watchers ice cream sandwiches and like Weight Watchers Twinkies for like a year straight, and I lost all the weight. Because guess what? You can lose weight that way. It's not the smartest way.
I mean, if you're in a caloric deficit,
you're in
a caloric deficit, right?
And that's what I did. And so then I got pregnant with my second son, gained 50 pounds again.
Hey, dude, sorry, I can't just go right into the Henry pregnancy until we say, who the fuck comes up with a fucking nutrition program feeding people Twinkies?
I don't know.
Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
They called them cupcakes, but they're just Twinkies. It's cake with icing on top. It's like the plastic icing you could literally peel off and it would stay intact. So I would eat that and then eat the thing. But my eating habits were terrible. And I didn't know any better because I'd only seen my mom diet. I thought that like processed food was normal food, and I saw her diet and struggle with her weight. And so after my second pregnancy, gained 50 pounds again, and this time it didn't come off. So I tried Weight Watchers. I tried all the things that I thought I was supposed to do. I tried like shake plans. I tried all of this. And again, exercise to me felt like, oh, well, that's for losing weight. So I got an elliptical machine and I would like try to do cardio. And I just was in a terrible place where I was like, oh, well, this is, I guess, my birthright. My mom's overweight. I'm going to be overweight. Like,
yeah. And you just think that, oh, it's my genetics.
It's my genetics, my metabolism, my knee.
And the
like,
fucked up thing is I don't care what kind of fucking genetics you have. You can't outwork a shit diet.
Well, that's just it. Like
and
when
if you're putting shit into your body, the result's going to be shit. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how much time you spend on the elliptical.
No. And honestly, like if I look back on that, I just wasn't doing a very good job taking care of myself. I was sedentary. I wasn't lifting weights, and I was eating loads of cheese. And like, I mean, I was just eating.
I like cheese.
And I would I would go through the Dunkin' Donuts after dropping off the kids. And I remember I wasn't eating French fries and hamburgers all day long and thinking that was a good choice. I was just eating what I thought was normal. Mm-hmm. And then I would try to make healthy choices. So I'd go to Chick-fil-A and be like, well, what should I get? You know? And I just had these habits that I couldn't get out of that place. And so it was really frustrating time because I think I was 25, 26, 27 when all this was going on. I was like, well, this sucks. You know, this is how I'm going to be the rest of my life. I'm not going to be an athlete anymore. I'm not going to be fit. I'm not going to be sexy or attractive. I'm just going to be like, she looks nice.
A dumpy mom.
Yeah, she looks nice, right? Like
you're a nice person.
Like, well,
and you look like Humpty Dumpty.
That's what I mean. Like somebody would tell you, "Oh, you look nice," right? Like that's if you dress up.
Well, if anyone said you looked like Humpty Dumpty, that wouldn't be very nice.
Yeah, that'd be an ass. But that's kind of where I was, and so at the time, my husband, he's my ex now, was deployed, and I moved home to my hometown. And it was not a good time to do this. My boys were almost 2 and almost 4. Nothing had changed about my knee. There was not a good scenario. I was living in the bedroom that I grew up in, my high school bedroom, with my 2 kids and my 2 dogs. And I joined a gym thinking I was going to go to cardio class and finally going to lose this weight. And what I did is I met a coach. And he's just a personal trainer, just a regular dude. He invited me to his class, and I didn't really want to go. It was hard and terrible, and I didn't like it because I couldn't do anything, couldn't do one push-up. And there was just something about it. It was hard, and he didn't baby me. And he walked past me, and he was like, I see an athlete in there. And it was like, so he saw something that I thought was lost, and something
that gives me chills even hearing you say it.
It was so true to who I wanted to be and what I thought was lost.
Do you have any connection to that guy to this day?
Yeah, his name's Dante Finney.
Okay.
Mixed martial fitness on Instagram. And he changed.
Have you ever told him that you were one of the guys? You were a catalyst of change for me?
Oh, he knows.
Okay.
He knows because I kept going. And so I just kept going to his class. He had this outdoor boot camp class in the park with like the shittiest equipment like he had in the back of his car. And he didn't baby me. He wasn't like, oh, Christy, your poor knee. He was like, just do this, do the best you can. And then he just taught me the basics about nutrition. He was like, stop eating out so much. You know, you're going to have to eat more food. You're going to need to eat some protein. Probably shouldn't drink if you're trying to lose weight. Like just basics. And that year, I lost all the weight, and I felt better.
It's really crazy that a lot of people they literally don't understand what they need to do nutritionally.
Yeah.
You know? And it's funny because it's like you said, you bought an elliptical, right? But if you get on the elliptical for 1 hour and go as hard as you can, and 1 hour of hard work, that's a lot. That's a commitment.
Right.
How many calories do you think?
Generous for a female, 300, 350.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a protein bar.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's never going to happen way.
It doesn't work that way. But yeah, he changed my life. And so at the end of that year, yes, I'd lost the weight and I looked different. I felt like me again. And so that's when I became a coach and trainer.
Did you ever do the Oprah Winfrey and fall back into your old ways, or
No.
From the time you figured it out, it was a pretty straightforward path? I mean, there's always ebbs and flows, but just in general.
I think it's been steady because
Okay.
I think I fundamentally changed things. Like
Yeah.
I stopped drinking my calories. I used to drink sugary coffee all the time. Stopped. Used to go to fast food all the time. Stopped. I learned how to just make real food most of the time at home. I used to be sedentary. Now I walk a lot. I used to think that I could do cardio to learn to burn fat. Now I lift weights. And if you keep those pieces in place, then you surround yourself with a community, which was the other thing I learned was like going to his class. There was people. They were like, hey, we missed you if you weren't there on Tuesday. And he cared. That made all the difference. So I've kept that in place.
Accountability is huge.
It's everything.
It's everything.
And me and you talked about it a little bit, and I've talked about it on the podcast, but that's the next mission, is building an accountability platform, because that story is not the exception. That story is the rule. If you have people that you're embarking on a journey with, man, it literally makes it exponentially easier.
Yeah, and to answer your question of like, did it ever change? Well, I got pregnant with my daughter. She's 4 now, so 5 years ago, and she was a surprise, like a good surprise. But turns out I gained 40 pounds with her, even though I was doing everything right. My body just gained 40 pounds. So after I had her, I had this sort of like, come to Jesus moment where it was like, okay, now you got to do it over again. Like you got to start over and rebuild your body with all the things you've been teaching and coaching people, but there's no guarantee. Like just because you're a coach, just because you're a trainer, just because you've done it before doesn't mean shit. Like you are starting here at 0 again.
Well, and your body also, it changes where like what Jenny has found, because she had a very similar story as you, put on a lot of weight with the babies and whatnot. And she got on keto and it all melted away. And she's like, cool, got it figured out. This is what I need to do. And then the last couple of times she's got on keto, her body's like, now we're done losing fat when you do this to us. We're used to it. We see your tricks.
Yeah.
And you have to adjust because you're always changing,
Yeah. And so that I actually started jiu-jitsu 3 months. My first jiu-jitsu class was 3 months postpartum after I had Georgia.
Okay.
So I was not only I felt like it was conquering a frontier of, okay, well, my knee, and I've wanted to do this for a long time, but also I was still probably 25 pounds heavier than I am now. I was not like in a good shape. I didn't come into jiu-jitsu at like my peak of anything. I was 3 months after having my daughter.
Because jiu-jitsu will help you get there.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you hear as a academy owner. I'm going to join your gym once I get in shape.
Once I get in shape.
Sure you are.
People tell me that about coaching. They're like, oh, I'm going to join coaching once I get my stuff together. I'm like, isn't the point of me helping you with your nutrition and fitness to help you get it together?
But like having the community is what drives it. I'm convinced. Like I wasn't unhappy with my body when I started jiu-jitsu. I had been doing a boot camp for like 3 years, but now I realize I wasn't moving enough. My workouts were solid, but in addition to that, I wasn't moving enough. And it was your 10K every day, Christy, that was the monumental shift.
Is that okay? I was going to say,
she
because
asked me, she was like, what should I be doing? And I don't remember what you were doing, but I was like,
It wasn't enough.
I was like, I think you just need to walk more. And the thing was, and I said, you need to walk more because you work a computer job. And I was like, and I think you can do all this other stuff.
I think it was before I went remote too, but I remember you were still doing 10K when we were at Guns and Geese the first time.
And then you set up Mega Desk.
Yes, I have Mega Desk. I'm very
so
proud
you
of
have
it.
a treadmill
Yeah.
at your workstation now.
Yeah. I have
What a
a
fucking
really
game changer.
It
Dude,
is the coolest thing.
just the fucking when I was a police officer, there was one
The standing desk. Yeah.
one desk in the whole or two actually in the whole district that you could push a button, it'd go zzz, it'd lift up and you could stand.
And I feel like you focus so much more when you stand. And my Mega Desk has gone through a few iterations, and I made a post about it a while ago.
You named him.
It's because she had like crazy
I had
Rubbermaids stacked up.
It's from The Office.
That was insensitive of me to assume Megadeth's gender.
Yeah. Oh my God. None of that. No, I stole it from The Office.
Okay.
It was like a funny thing on The Office. And I went remote in August or September of 2021. And I remember thinking, this is boring. Like I need to do my job, but I was getting bored. And I was like, I need something where I can be a little bit more like mentally focused. And I was like, I wonder if I can make this work. And I've got pictures of it somewhere. I literally had those black and yellow Costco totes.
Okay. Yeah.
Stacked on top of each other, another plastic like table from Costco. And I like pulled the car out of the garage, angled the treadmill from where it was, and I literally assembled it every day. So I had my little stack and my table, got my laptop, and I just went. And I can like I focus better walking and typing and walking and talking.
How far would you walk on any given day?
I track this.
That's what I'm saying. Like I know you have graphs and data.
She does.
And again, it's not just that I'm a nerd, but it's accountability.
You are a nerd.
I am. It's like, what did I do or what could I do better in the future? On average, this year I've gotten like 25 to 40 miles a week just on the treadmill. That's not counting.
Think about that shit.
I know,
40
it's
fucking
wild.
miles a week.
40 is the high.
Yeah.
But like I'm pretty consistent with like 25 to 30 every week while I'm working.
Well, dude, I don't remember when this was. It must have been the last Guns and Geese that you did, because Lappin was like,
Oh yeah, when he came. No, it was because I did 9. It was when he came up for class 8. I remember this.
and like, no, you did 9, but you did one before that. You did 3 or whatever.
5.
Right? 5.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, we
so,
did 5 together.
So between 5 and 8, I don't know, it was a year
Year and a half,
or whatever.
I think.
And as soon as he got here, it's like, the fuck, dude. Like she looks like a different human being.
I feel like a different human
I'm with
being.
you every single day.
Yeah.
So like you don't see that massive change because it's just very subtly every day,
Yeah.
you know? But it's fucking radical.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the funny thing is, like, I mean, I've learned so many of my techniques from Christy about prioritizing the movement. Like, just get going. Like, you don't have to like run a marathon, but like take 30 minutes and just fucking walk.
Well, dude, walking is making a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It's
people
so-
used to
it's
think
so
walking
simple.
was gay, you know?
It's simple. It's effective.
And
like
it's also what our fucking bodies have been doing for thousands of years.
I physically feel better when I walk.
Well, this summer, it was just a tough season for me personally. And I think the whole city of Lake Stevens was probably like, who the fuck is this girl who's just walking around Lake
Yeah.
Stevens? I walked hundreds of miles this summer because it was just a good way to manage stress. And also it was something that it made it a time for my brain to process. It was also, I knew it was physically positive.
It's relaxing.
So I'd put Georgia on my back and I'd walk here.
Yeah.
And one time I forgot my dog. I tied my dog to your Forerunner, and I would make the boys walk with me to jiu-jitsu because both my boys do jiu-jitsu. And I think I was walking one of them here, and I was like, I'm leaving you here, and I've got George on my back, and then I'm going to walk home, and I'll come back and drive back and get you when class is over. But I brought the dog. And I tied the dog to your Forerunner,
Well,
Bonnie.
good thing I didn't just fucking
I know.
leave.
I tied Bonnie to your Forerunner, came in, dropped off Henry, and then left. And then I was like halfway down the Centennial Trail. I'm like, where the fuck is the dog? Georgia asked me.
oh my God.
It's like, hey, mom.
Bonnie?
I
was like, oh my God.
So funny.
Yeah. But walking was such a productive outlet.
That's the thing. It is productive because you can think clearly, you can multitask, like you can do your calls. I'm talking to my patients, I'm sending off emails. Like, it's awesome.
You
And
put
like,
a weight vest on too. It's conditioning.
yeah,
Well, we were going to talk about jiu-jitsu, but
Now we're talking
we're
about
still going to
We're having a
everybody
walking
start
club?
fucking walking.
start walking.
And you know what? I
No
need to walk more.
excuses.
And that's what, because that's,
Well, you can walk right now.
no,
which
that's
is,
what the surgeon told me. He goes, minimum of 20 pounds in your fucking hands, but you can walk as much as you want.
Yeah, it's super transformative. And like on my, my silly spreadsheets, but like you can see the recovery days. Like I do some lifting too, but it's primarily walking, cycling, jiu-jitsu, and a couple of lifting
I
classes.
mean, people are always like, well, how do you lose weight and stuff? And I'm like, well, one
Movement.
of the easiest things you can do is without changing anything else. You don't even have to change your food yet, is start walking. Because if you're sedentary right now and you go to walking 10,000 steps a day, but depending on your body weight, that's 5 to 10 pounds instantly. And if you do the other way, it's exactly the opposite. So for example, if you are working at a job that's very on your feet, maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're like working construction, you're doing something like that, you're on your feet. And then all of a sudden you get home, which happened to a lot of people during 2020.
They just put on,
They just put on weight and they're like, well, what's wrong with me? Well, maybe you're eating more, but also you went from being on your feet to sitting.
Yeah.
So that's 5 to 10 pounds, just like that.
Well, and like, we're sitting here saying you can't outwork a bad diet, but it's still true. It still is a math problem, right? Of calories in versus calories out. Well, so if you are, eating 3,000 calories a day and you're not walking at all, and then you incorporate 10,000 steps a day, that's obviously going to have an impact.
Yeah. I mean, so everybody's like, oh, how do I get my metabolism speed up? Well, what we're really talking about is how many calories does your body burn in a given day? Well, the biggest chunk of that's your BMR, like your resting metabolic rate, which is
of course,
based off
keeping you at 98.6 degrees.
Yeah. And just keeping you alive.
That's what I tell people all the time, because it's like, dude, that's why a snake can eat one time a month. Mm-hmm. Because it's cold-blooded. Our entire metabolism is built around keeping us warm.
Right. And so if you're a bigger human, you're burning more calories than someone who's a smaller human because you have bigger body to essentially burn. But then after that, right, your BMR is your walk around calories. Mm-hmm. So just the amount that you're walking around all day is the biggest chunk of what you're actually like using calorie-wise. Then it's how much you burn from eating food, your thermic effect of food. And then the tiniest portion is exercise.
Yeah.
And so everybody's got it backwards. They think, oh, well, if I just like work out more, but that's usually like less than 5% of your total calorie burn is exercise.
Have you noticed, I don't know if you're consistent enough in the sauna and the cold.
I do sauna almost daily,
Okay.
but not the cold.
Dude, sauna and cold gets me lean.
Really?
Because, I mean, again, it's fucking...
That thermogenic.
Mm-hmm. Your heart rate is at 155 or whatever. It's like a not fucking balls out cardiovascular workout, but it's like a brisk jog. And so your body is essentially doing cardiovascular fitness, Yeah. And then the cold, fucking you get so cold that your body burns all those calories trying to heat you up. I think those are fucking key tools. I haven't seen you in the cold plunge.
No, you have not.
When am I going to see you in the cold plunge?
Sometime soon.
I've gotten in there a couple times. I dunked my face.
I've seen you do your face.
But I've gotten in there my body a few times.
I have not.
You want to get in after recording?
Nope. But thank you.
Damn it. I was hoping being on the podcast could put you on the spot.
Well, nope.
What is currently not going well for you guys in jiu-jitsu?
What's not going well?
Is there anything that's... I guess that depends on the season. There's plenty of times when I want to...
And the technique. Like I would say when you switched curriculum to the 2 weeks, that was such a game changer. Because for a while it was like, this week we're doing back takes. This week we're doing De La Hiva, whatever. When you extended the curriculum for 2 weeks, I feel like it just allowed us to absorb more, because I mean, I feel like I need to see the technique a couple of times, try it a couple of times, and then try and deploy it. And it's so fun. Like, I don't know if you notice this, like when we're rolling, do your training partners, you're try and sneak in the move of the day. Like, oh my God, it cracks me up.
Move of the day is awesome.
It's so funny. Like Dan
I'm
did
proud of people doing move of the day.
Dan Smith did it the other day and I saw it coming and I'm like, it's not going to work, bro. And it was hilarious. But I don't know what's not going well.
I don't know what's not going well. I feel like there's a couple places where I know what's not going well is me. For example, I feel intimidated sometimes still when we're doing rotations. And so if I can say like what's not going well, it's the fact that I still feel that.
Like if you're going against a big, strong dude that still has some frantic energy, or
yes,
I would say most of our training partners though, like know us personally and know not to go balls to the wall. Like
I'm very outspoken about that, but
some people can't help it.
Yeah, I know. There's some people that go full retard.
I only have
and it's outside of their capacity to control.
Yeah, I have 2 people on my do not roll list, and that's it. Out of however many training partners we have, and it's not their fault. It's just I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Feel like it's not that I don't like them. It's I feel like their energy is going to get me hurt, and I don't want to risk that.
No, and you have an absolute right to defend yourself.
Right.
And I try and be outspoken about that, and like, hey, we take care of our girls here. Mm-hmm. All right. Me and Rachel are not the same. You don't fucking treat us the same when you roll. Like me and Daniel, we both shot a double leg on each other at the exact same time. and we collided heads. You ever see those dinosaurs?
Yes.
Or or like fucking doll sheep.
Yes.
It was like that. And instantly the ego in both of us was just like, I'm fine. He's like, no, I'm fine. No. Oh. Like, like we both wanted the other guy to know, like, dude, I'm not bothered at all. Even though I was like on the verge of being knocked out.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't fucking come at you like that.
No, I'd appreciate if you didn't.
No, I understand that. But what you see is like now that you guys have the technique to beat a lot of men, if they show up and they're a 200-pound man that has a lot of muscle on them, that spazzing out, it's still a fucking problem for you guys.
Well, remember that day? It wasn't that long ago. It was only a couple months ago. And you were in here. We had done rotations. I said, I just did the hardest round of ever
Yes.
of jiu-jitsu. And you're like, why? And I was like, well, it was a white belt and he's much bigger, maybe 80, 90 pounds, 100 pounds bigger. And he did not understand how to, it wasn't even that he was spazzing. The level of intensity that he brought was too high for his body size. So it was every moment of it, from the moment he put his hands on me, I knew it was survive.
Yeah.
And in the past, I would have been like, hey man, I probably would have called it early and I would have been like, hey man, like, got to tone it down, even though it was a rotation where those can go 10 seconds or those can go longer.
Or 3 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
And this went long. And so I didn't. I just let myself survive. And I was like, the only goal here is to survive, like, and to not tap from pressure or to not get hurt or to not die.
And while I'm sure feeling a lot of anxiety.
And I felt like I could die. Like, he's going to break my rib cage. And I didn't. And so it was,
You didn't die?
I didn't die.
You're here right now.
But that felt so weird because it was right on the edge of probably what was safe and what wasn't safe.
I think we're referring to the same person, because I was like, I don't know if I needed that like check. Like maybe I needed to be scared a little bit. And then I kept thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, actually that freaked me out.
Well, there's feeling scared on the mats. Once it's over, you usually derive good from that, right? But like you just said, once you're walking that fine line of injury versus intense training, we want to err on the side of fucking just keep it at a training pace for obvious reasons,
Tap today, train tomorrow.
But also the thing was, it was sort of like this, it's this purple belt thing too, where I was like, you know what? This is what this is. Yep. You are supposed to be able to not die with a giant person who, and again, I know that that's like an extreme where that's not always the case. I don't have like false beliefs about that, but that was the intention for me, was to be present in that feeling.
Yeah. And that's also part of the journey, because now you have a rep with a 270-pound dude on top of you, right? And if that were to happen in a parking lot somewhere, you've confronted those emotions before. You know?
And even if I do die, at least I won't be as scared.
but eventually, in 5 more years, when a big 200-pound fucking frantic motherfucker gets on top of you, you're going to sweep him and choke him out, But you can't get there without years of little reps like this. And that's why, like, I will always, and I know that both you guys just kind of gave kudos to self-defense seminars that you attended, but I always tell people self-defense seminars should be an exposure.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, it opened the door for me.
Yeah, and that's what a self-defense seminar should be. It's like, hey, these are some things that you can do, but if you ever want to do them, plan on committing to 5 years of this. And then maybe we'll talk, you know? Because now you're at 5 years, and still a big, strong man can make you extremely uncomfortable. And it might take 10 years before, okay, I got these motherfuckers.
Well, there's a certain amount of physical squeezing that I think a lot of the guys might understand if they roll with a lot bigger men. But it's difficult to understand that sometimes I'm afraid you're going to snap my arm. And so I have to like disconnect from that feeling to like do jujitsu. And I think
Of course.
And so then then the other day I got real pissed because I tapped to a body triangle. This is one of the first time that's ever happened to me. And I was so pissed because I couldn't brace enough.
Let's delve into that a little bit.
Okay.
All right. Because I always say don't tap to pressure. Don't tap to pressure, because tapping to pressure is typically tapping to discomfort, and you're tapping to the emotions of pressure more than anything that's actually hurting your body. Now, with that said, there are fucking body triangles that can pop your ribs out of place. There's Will's knee on belly that can pop your ribs out of place, right?
I tap to that.
That's what I'm saying. So when I say tap to pressure, I'm more thinking of like a mother's milk scenario where someone's putting their chest in your face,
Right.
and it's hot and you're having a hard time breathing and you're just like, oh, fuck this, you know? And I still feel that sometimes.
Right.
20 years of jiu-jitsu, sometimes if someone that's bigger and stronger than me gets me in a bad position, I still have to deal with those emotions of anxiety. That's part of the game that will never go away. Try and stave off tapping to emotional taps as hard as you fucking can. But fucking, God, who was it? Someone extremely tough on our team just told me like,
We have a lot of them.
yeah, it told me last week. They're like, bro, oh no, it wasn't our team. It was Lappin.
Oh,
But extremely tough. Like I've only rolled Lappin a few times, even though we're fucking like best friends. We're usually working, doing guns and geese and stuff, and we don't train with ourselves very often. And he told me the other day, he goes, bro, I tapped to pressure. And he goes, and here's why. And it was exactly that. This like professional fighter, high level black belt was putting pressure on him in a way. And he's like, I could feel my ribs starting to like move out of socket.
Yeah.
And he's like,
it's an appropriate time to tap.
yeah, I'm literally on the verge of catastrophic injury. Very, very different, you know? And body triangles, that's a real thing.
They're gnarly.
Well, because sometimes I've been able to just brace or move and you're like, okay, just hang in there. You're going to get out. And this, it sunk and then it sunk more. And then it was like, that's a wrap. My insides are going to explode.
Yeah.
Like either
And
I'm
it
going to lose
also-
a bottom rib or that's going
It
to
also
wrap.
depends on whose body triangle you're in too. Like if you're in like Tom or Trevin or a guy that's like,
Or Jake.
well, no, I'm saying those guys are fucking 6'4". They have long legs. Now, long legs in jiu-jitsu are a double-edged sword because they can get things from everywhere. But once you're inside of their triangle is large just by the length of their femurs. But let's say like Will gets you in a body triangle. Thick, powerful legs, a lot of muscle, and just enough length to latch it over his shin, you're fucking going to die.
Yeah. It's a wrap.
You know? And so, no, I don't fault you for that pressure tap, Christy.
But see, it was a thing because I knew it. I was like, ugh, I don't like to tap to pressure.
But what's the lesson there? Don't get in body
I
triangles.
was just going
Right.
to say, is it Lappin's? How do you get out of lasso? Don't get into it in the first place.
Yes. And dude, that sounds kind of cliche to say or whatever, but the best defense to an armbar is literally fucking 10 steps before I'm trying to peel the leg off my face and defend the armbar. Lots of bad decisions or just bad choices happened for me to be defending an armbar here, right? And so when you find yourself like, dude, this guy's on my back with a body triangle, and now I'm tapping out. Well, first of all, some type of bad angle happened for him to get your back. And then think about, even once he's on your back and someone has hooks in, you can control their feet still to avoid them body triangling you. So like a lot of lessons.
The same guy body triangled me a week earlier and I tapped him out with a ankle lock.
From his own body triangle? Yeah. And dude, that's the thing. Body triangles are a double-edged sword because they're very miserable for your opponent, but it also kind of shuts your mobility down. And I had a really, really bad experience. I was a brown belt at the time and my ankle got popped from putting a body triangle on someone. And I now know the defense. Like that shouldn't have happened to me. Do you want to know what you do if someone has you in a body triangle and they're trying to break your ankle?
I thought I knew, and now I don't.
You take both hands and you Y-frame on the back of their head and you push them completely forward. You create as much space from your chest to the base of their neck, And now, because they're
So you abandon whatever grips
because
you had.
what it does is it pushes them forward in a curvature this way. Because to break your ankle, they need to
have to
arch
extend.
backwards.
Okay.
And it was so funny because 20 years of jiu-jitsu, I was watching a John Danaher video, and he goes, we don't really worry about people attacking us in the body triangle because all you have to do is this. And I was like, what? And I came to practice like, here, put me in a body triangle.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Completely shuts it down. And that's one of those little moments where it's like, I'm sure you guys have experienced this thousands of times where it's like, if you do this instead of this, and you're like, oh, fuck, why did it take 2 years to figure this out or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah, we're constantly learning. I mean, was it a week or two ago? I don't remember if you were here. Will taught us something completely new to me for a bow and arrow. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, he showed.
I was blown away. I'm like, I've been doing bow and arrows for 3 years.
It's actually like one of your fucking things.
I mean, I guess I feel like I don't like, you've got your arm bars and you've got your crazy flexibility and your weaponizing hips and your bucks and your,
You don't feel like you found your game yet? You're a blue belt too.
I do like back attacks
Mm-hmm.
and I love hunting chokes. It doesn't mean that I get them all the time, but if I had to choose one, I do think bow and arrow would probably be one that I look for more, but I feel like I don't have my go-to yet.
Dude, I didn't like arm bars until I'd been a black belt for 3 years.
Interesting.
So think about that.
I'm keeping my options open.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, you will go through phases where it's like, this is all I need to do. And like literally white through purple belt, it didn't matter if it was gi or no gi, because I was of the mindset back in those days that my techniques need to work regardless of what somebody's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't rely on the gi at all. And it's because I was doing a lot of no gi and I was training MMA. And if I was underneath you, I was butterfly sweeping you. And as soon as I get on top, I'm going to head and arm choke you. And that's it.
Oh, I love head and arm.
They're awesome. But that's all I did for years.
And I like Kimura.
And then it wasn't until brown belt when I fell in love with the Kimura. And that's because Joao is a Kimura expert. He showed me so many
It
things.
flows, and there's such a hub from
Dude,
there.
when you get a Kimura grip on someone, you can armbar them, you can move to the back, you can sweep them, you can lose all control. And as long as you still have a good Kimura grip, you still have options, you know? And so brown belt, I fell in love with Kimura. And then I finally was like, I'm a brown belt. I should probably embrace the guard. And I fucking went in a deep dive in half guard because I was living with all the checkmat black belts at the time and fell in love with the bottom game of jiu-jitsu. And then years into my black belt, I was like, I'm finding arm bars here. Oh, I'm finding arm bars there. And now it's all I think about.
That's rad.
It's funny because I don't get to see. I feel like I don't know. I mean, I roll with you a lot, probably
Yeah.
more than anybody because we've been training partners for
Long
since 2020.
Yeah.
But I like to watch you roll with other people because I'm like, oh, that's what Rachel does. It's like I think I told you once. I was like, it's fun to watch you attack other people, and I think it's just maybe because we've rolled together so many times. Like I feel like I don't get to see your game.
Yeah.
I like to watch you roll with other people.
What do you notice from her game?
With other people.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch you choke these guys out all the time. I'm like, but then I'm like, she doesn't choke me out, and then it's not because I think I'm good. It's like, why doesn't she go for that on me? And I try to figure out why. Because I'm like, that's a different game. But maybe it's not.
But it goes back to what I was saying. Like, for her to choke you, she has had to make 5 different things happen correctly
Right.
before she's in the place to choke you. And as a purple belt, it's probably hard for her to get those 5 steps to line up. You just see the end result of her on a white belt's back choking him out. And
Yeah,
it's
I'm
like,
sure
well,
I'm only
And then
hurting
I'm
white
pumped,
belts.
and I'm like, look at her go.
Hell yeah.
You know?
I've been suplexing a little bit too, and it's really, really funny.
dude, that's not what I expected to hear. But hey, we'll take it.
Gosh, who was it?
Dude,
It's a guy who's not here anymore, and it was one of his last nights, and he tried to do something, and I decided I wasn't going to let him, and I suplexed him, and he kind of bounced a little bit, and it's possible his gi pants came off a little bit, and it's maybe possible that Anthony recorded it.
I was just gonna say, was that I was in Mexico when that happened. I think.
No. I think
Gis?
you were hunting.
Hunting.
Or because I was driving home and you text me and you're like, this is the best.
Yeah, because Anthony sent me that video and I was like,
The best part of it was Anthony's his commentary. I was dying. He's like, Rachel Anderson won't only steal your soul, she'll steal your pants too.
No, and here's the thing too, like, because I've been receiving more feedback from men coming in. They're like, that girl kicked the shit out of me, and I was like,
Rachel,
yeah,
me? She's
yeah,
great.
fuck yeah,
yes,
you.
I watch you do it to all these other people. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's fun for me to watch you.
And that is the most humbling experience that a man can have. And like, I mean, it's Tyler Stanaway 101. When he got choked out by Ariel, he's like,
Never again.
But he expected his wife to ask him for a divorce that evening. I told you've heard that story,
I know that
right?
story.
Yeah. And he's serious about it because he's like, for me to be this tough, savage man, I'm the protector of my family. And my wife watched a woman make me quit. He's like, she won't want to be my woman anymore. And obviously she just laughed at that and thought it was silly, right?
But I remember watching Ariel like take plenty of guys and just absolutely manhandle them.
Yeah. And like, that's a hard thing for men to go through. And now you're the person giving people that fucking experience. Like, oh shit, I always say, jiu-jitsu doesn't show you who you are. It shows you who you aren't. Because most people have a different idea of how they would react to a physical encounter. And I always say this too, because what I fucking hate is when people are like, well, in a real fight, I just punch her in the face. Congratulations. In a real fight, there's lots of
There's a counter to that.
But there's a lot of other things that both parties involved could do.
In a real fight, Rachel will just shoot you.
Yeah, but I could also fucking bury my thumbs into your eyes. I could also fucking elbow your fucking orbital. Like, I can do really gnarly shit in a real fight. But we're not in a real fight. We're training. And we're training under a set of rules that we've agreed on, that when we're doing this round, these are the things we can do to each other. These are the things we can't do to each other. And for anyone that fucking has a problem with that, you obviously have never trained, because you can't train at full combat fighting. And I've done that before in MMA. And guess what? You still say, well, we're not going to elbow each other.
Right.
We're not going to knee each other in the head, because when you're doing that to your teammates, like, it gets fucking serious. There's certain things that you say for only the cage or a fucking physical altercation on the streets. So we train under a rule set, regardless of where that rule set is at. And if this fucking woman that I have 50 pounds on, I say, hey, this is the agreement that we have for the next 5 minutes during this training exercise, and she beats me at that, then she fucking beat me. You know, there isn't any, oh, this or oh, that. It's like, no, motherfucker. The rules were established and you lost to her.
There is a considerable amount of joy, I do have to say.
Well, and let me say this before.
Yeah.
The person that you said, he's no longer with us, right?
He's not dead. He's just not a team member. To be clear. He was light.
This gym has a way of pulling the right people in and pushing the right people away. And consistently, I see the people that just don't vibe very well. They see their own way out. And I've only had to ask one person not to come here anymore.
Yeah.
Since we've been open.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking rad.
Yeah, that's good.
It's interesting. Like I have such a fondness for our law enforcement officers who train. Matt obviously being one of them, but I mean, truthfully, like, it's not easy for him to get here some days. Like, it'll take him an hour and a half if he's coming from work to get here. But we have a handful of rad cops who train with us.
We have the coolest fucking cops in the world
and
here.
I so adore them. And I feel like it's this misconception that, I mean, Matt and I have been married 15 years. Like, you'd think I'd kind of get this by now, but I've always thought, like, police officers should be able to kick my ass. They should be able to deal with me. And it's not always the case. So like if I have a round with one of our cops and I win, I'm like, oh, yes.
Hey, next time you try and arrest me, I'm going to arrest
Well, and
you.
the funny thing is I
Arrest you back.
I will be intentionally squirrely just to fuck with them.
Yeah.
Like, haha, I'm not being compliant. Yeah. But it shows how jiu-jitsu works. Like,
Well, and the thing is too, as a police officer, outside of me being in fear for my physical safety, that's when I can start smashing your fucking face, right? Yeah. But 9 times out of 10, just trying to get someone in cuffs.
Right.
Like, it's jujitsu.
Yeah, and we have one of our newer females is a police officer, and she's rad. Like, she really wants to learn.
Who?
Kate. Oh. She wants to learn, and she's got strong grips, and she's getting guard pulls down, and she's really, really cool. But one of the first couple times she came, she's like, I don't know like how this works when I'd use it. And I was like, let me show you. And I basically Kimura'd her, and I was like, roll on your stomach, put your arms up. And I basically put her in a cuffing position.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is how this is applicable. And
you're also kind of an anomaly because you take a bunch of like non-compliant cuffing courses. Like you'll sign up for a course like that.
I love training with the police
and
officers.
It's like,
I love it because it's
why is Rachel taking a handcuffing class? Oh, because she's Rachel.
Don't you worry about it. But like I invite myself to SWAT training. Granted, I get permission, but like I love training with them because for them, they have to prioritize it. You don't get to stay on the team if your training and your techniques and everything sucks. Like you have to be elite.
Marcus has been bringing some of the guys in here on their own time. I gave him a key because he's like, hey, is it cool if a group of police officers, and dude, you know me. I talk shit on cops all the time when I think they're being shitty people.
Yeah.
Because they don't get a pass. They shouldn't get a pass.
Right.
But the truth is there's still a lot of fucking radical police officers out there. And anyone that's just like, all cops are bitches, or like, dude, our first responders are the greatest people in the world. Both you guys are full of shit because they're individual human beings. Some of them are great and some of them are fucking useless. If you're a police officer that's dedicating a lot of time to honing your craft outside of business hours, like all the cops that come here do, that tells me I put a lot of weight in being good at my job. And when people put a lot of weight at good at their job, they're usually good people.
They're rad. I mean, Nick and Dan and Zach and Matt and Alex and
they're all tough as fuck now too.
They're so good. They're so good.
Marcus showed up tough as fuck though.
Marcus and Dan and Nick. Holy Lord. I remember one of my first roles with him, and I submitted him. I'm like, how did I do that? It doesn't happen as frequently anymore. And we had a role recently and he goes, God, you're annoying. And I was like, thank you so much.
Thank you. The best compliment.
I mean, if I can just, I don't think my offense is that good, but my defense isn't shabby.
Well, so we asked what's not going well, and you guys don't have much that's not going well right now. So I must have caught you in a good season. So what's going well?
I did think of something that's not going well, and I don't know how to improve it. My flexibility is just, it's terrible. Like I can't invert. I don't like my spine just doesn't bend that way.
It certainly will. It's just like any other aspect of fitness. How much time do you want to dedicate to it?
It's,
that
is probably my Achilles. And I feel like we all know what goes well is my neck. I can't explain it.
Oh, her choking.
That doesn't count. That's just biology.
That's anatomy.
I love it.
Yeah, you can't.
It's like a funny party trick.
And there's a guy and there's a black belt in Southern California named Hobinho, who's a checkmat black belt. And he's known for having an unchokable neck.
I'm not unchokable. I'm just difficult.
You're on the verge of an unchokable neck.
I do love when Joao tried
Dude, that's
and
what I'm
said,
saying.
that's fucked up, bro.
Bro, that's fucked up.
Bro, that's fucked up.
Because so for people that are jiu-jitsu guys and gals, okay, hey, this is the choke we're drilling, and I'll show the technique. We'll talk through it. And then we'll break, and you and your partner drill back and forth, getting reps in. And it's like clockwork. Whoever's partnered up with Rachel, raise their hand.
Needs a backup.
This isn't working for me. I can't get it. Yeah, I know. And it's not you. And I'll usually try and put the technique on you myself. Mm-hmm. And it takes
more than it should.
Full force to get you to tap.
Mm-hmm.
And And then I'll have them do it to me. And it's like, no.
You're like, yep, it worked.
I'm blacking out within 2 seconds of you applying pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think your carotids are just really deep.
I guess.
You're blessed with deep carotids.
The best day was the day that you. It wasn't. Who was it? It was
Daniel. Daniel put me to
blacked
sleep.
her out because
Good for her. Good for him.
Try this on her. So she's.
That's the only time I've
So
gone
you're being
out.
a little stubborn too then.
No, but
She's
what
very
was
stubborn
so
about it.
funny.
If you're going out.
She'll go full purple with me in a roll, and I'll be like, dude, you can tap, like I know.
Well, I remember that so well because it was just a cross collar. Like it was really simple. And I remember thinking like I should probably tap right about now. And then the next thing I remember was I could hear people going, she's out. And all I could think, I couldn't verbalize it yet, but I remember thinking, oh my God, who's out? But it was me.
Yeah.
And I woke up and Daniel's like, oh my God, you looked like you were ready to storm the beaches of Normandy.
In your defense, and this has only happened a couple times to me because I don't believe in fighting until you go unconscious.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any pride in that. I don't think it makes any sense. I don't think it's good for your brain. But like that round I was doing with Hayden, he started choking me, and I was like, oh, this little fucking bastard. I'm gonna shuck him off my back now. And then the next thing I know, I was waking up.
Yep.
It wasn't like uh-oh, damn it, fuck, I'm not tapping to a kid. It like all happened.
It's fast.
So fast. Mm-hmm. And it's a good lesson because it's like, dude, again, if someone's choking you, you've already made a bunch of mistakes. And sometimes once that mistake is made, within fucking 3 seconds, you can be unconscious.
Yep.
And a lot of people that don't train think that it's how long you can hold your breath.
Oh, definitely not.
And
That's
it's like,
not
dude,
the thing.
It's
Definitely
not
not.
air, it's blood.
Yeah.
And you shut blood off to the brain, literally almost instantly, you go to sleep. And I've told you guys a story about the guy that trained here. He's actually the same guy that I asked not to come back.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? I've run into him since then, and everything's good to go. He's a cool guy, but it just at the time it was a season that this wasn't a good fit for him. But he was notorious for not tapping. So every single night
He had that catastrophic injury, right?
Yep. So like every night at practice, so every night, multiple times usually, he's unconscious on the mats, and you're picking his feet up, and dude, hey, you okay? Like, and it's like, fuck, man. But it got to the point where I could see it, dude. People would just barely squeeze his neck, and boom, he's out.
You know what's interesting about him?
Dude, I honestly think, you know how like if you get punched too many times, they say you develop a glass jaw. Mm-hmm. I think you can develop a glass neck with jiu-jitsu.
For sure.
Yeah, your body's probably like, nope,
Yeah, your body's like, dude,
Just
this
instant,
motherfucker is going to make me
dead.
wait until I'm almost dead. So let's just get it over with.
Well, and I don't remember the timeline on that. I know it was shortly after we started, so summer of 2020. But he and Matt had connected over like commonality of law enforcement, and he gave us some really cool resources that we didn't know we were looking for. And it's funny that like he's not on the team anymore, but like just the whole community aspect of growth and betterment, and like all of these things that have become exponentially better in our lives from walking in the door, meeting people.
For sure.
It's wild.
And the coolest part about that is it's not just you. It's
Right.
not just me. It's fucking like everybody, dude. Like someone was just saying yesterday, they're like, dude, we have so many resources available here just because jiu-jitsu doesn't bring together a group of jocks
Right.
or soccer moms, or it's like there's almost a little bit of everybody here. And that allows you to have a fucking wide pool of people to draw from. And then Kozak's like, show me another fucking gym that has our own shaman.
Right. Seriously.
And I was like, dude, we're all laughing. But seriously, right?
true.
But
We
between-
have all of these fucking powerful people that bring something fucking positive to the table.
Oh, yeah.
And we have
it's-
kids and teenagers growing up in it. And I've told you a bunch of times how special that is.
Yeah.
Your fucking boys are monsters.
Well, and you said so many times, like there are so few outlets and activities that the entire family can do together.
Yeah.
And like your boys are killing it, and they're strong. And like I remember when I started, and they seemed like little, and now I'm like,
They were little because
I'm like,
it was,
oh,
Now
Logan,
Logan
you're
has
a
a
man.
mustache.
Yeah, I'm like, you
And
are.
he'll fucking kill most
Yeah.
human beings.
But like, there's
He's
something
a
so
hard
powerful.
role. He's literally, how old is he now? 14?
14.
But he's fucking
so
what, 170?
He's gotten big.
He's a big, strong
He's
kid.
back in a no-gi, so he's been.
And dude,
Craig's been beating him up.
when you're 170 pounds, you're 170 pounds. I don't care how old you are. He's 14 and he's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was what, 9? Because he'd started before you.
He started before me, so it was 2018.
Okay.
So he started in 2018 and been doing it ever since. On and off because of football, he has to take seasons where he doesn't get to train.
I don't fault kids for stepping away from the mats as long as they're doing something else. You know,
He's had to step away for a wrestling season.
I think stepping away for wrestling season, I'm a proponent of that. Stepping away for basketball or football, it's kind of gay, but I also think like kids need to experience other things.
They need to do fun things.
You know? But dude, I've had a couple fucking kids and it's irritating to me, but I mean, I'm not their parent, so I only get so much influence, that have like stepped away for football and then had some fucking catastrophic injury. And it's like, dude, why does your fucking kid need to be getting hammered on the football field when he's not very big?
Right.
I don't know.
It's a trade-off.
One kid in particular and I don't know if this is
Is it
necessarily.
mine?
What's it?
Was it mine?
No, but yours is one of them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go play basketball, right?
Well, and like not trying to steal your thunder. Like she had been getting good.
She was getting good.
She
was
gotten
on
good.
par with the girls.
Yeah. And she was, you said it, I still have the video. Like she was the first Anderson to promote. And that
Yeah.
was awesome. And then she broke her arm training and she came back after she got her cast off and whatnot. And she was around for like a week or two and she did great. And then she fizzled and
She lost her fire.
And every single week, I'm like, you guys want to go to jiu-jitsu? You guys want to go? Let's all go. And every week. And it's hard when your kids like not outsmart you, but when they use like decent adult logic. She goes, Mom, just because jiu-jitsu is your passion doesn't mean it needs to be mine. I'm like, oh, damn it.
But so I hear you on that too, because I don't think you should force your kids. However, on the other hand, jiu-jitsu is a little bit, I mean, it's a lot mentally harder than like getting him to go to football. Either of my boys, like they want to go, they want to play. They don't always want to come here.
Of course not.
And so-
I don't think anybody.
I do.
Except
Except for Rachel.
you and
So
your unchokeable neck.
it's funny because they've both gone through seasons where they needed to be encouraged to come back. And there was a place where it was like, you're going. I'm sorry. You're going. This is like me. The one thing that I wish I could have had you be bilingual, right? But I don't know a second language and we didn't start earlier. I wish you could have had mastery over an instrument. That would have been cool. But we didn't do that. This you're doing.
You did.
And you're doing it. And I told him, I said, you don't have to do it constantly. And if you truly don't like it, we can have a conversation. But if you don't feel like it, that's not the same thing. And so with Logan wrapping up tackle football, that's my oldest, we needed to get him back in the door. Well, that's hard, even for an adult. When you've been out of the loop of something, because then all of a sudden your ego comes in because like, well, I'm not going to be as good as I was, or what if I was, you know? And there was a little bit of resistance where he was like, oh, I'm down for training again in this off season. But when it came to coming, he didn't want to come.
Yeah.
And I was like, buddy, we're going. And he was mad at me. And I was like, get in the car. You're going because we talked about it. We decided together. So he went to the first class and then he's fine. Now he's
Yeah, you got to
just got to get back in the door.
And dude, that applies to literally everyone. Like, and for me, like, because I'll have been off the mats for a month or two, I guarantee you it's going to be like, oh,
that first class is hard.
Here we go. But what you said he's 14. What grade is he in? 8th grade? 9th grade?
He's in 9th grade.
Okay, so he's in 9th grade. Logan has to have a certain amount of pride in the fact that, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, I bet Logan beats the fuck out of any kid in the high school, all the way up to senior.
Probably adults too.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because when I fight him, he's 170 pounds, and I have to fight him like I fight one of my adult purple belts at this point. If I fucking don't do everything perfect, that motherfucker is going to win. Like, he's going to capitalize on it. I mean, he went into wrestling with no official wrestling, just our jiu-jitsu.
Just jiu-jitsu.
And didn't he go undefeated?
He's still undefeated.
So, dude, you're a fucking 9th grade undefeated wrestler with what I would call purple belt jiu-jitsu and a 170-pound body. That's a fucking welterweight. He has to know he can beat the fuck out of anyone in his school, right?
Probably. And
does he not? I want you to ask him that.
It's funny because he and Henry, so my middle child Henry, he's 12, and he's also been training quite a bit lately too. He's into it. But they both had like sort of a what's the point of this or purpose of this kind of thing. Logan had been training jiu-jitsu for a couple of months when we first moved here. I was finally like, okay, I can put them. They were in Taekwondo when I lived in Maryland. So I was like, we're doing the thing. You know, you're signed up. And he got jumped on the playground. So he was probably in 5th grade. And he got choked out and embarrassed and sad. And he was so disappointed because he'd been training jiu-jitsu. But he'd been training for jiu-jitsu for like four months, you know, as a 5th grader. And it was the perfect sort of like, you have to do this for a long time. And it didn't matter. Like, you still got jumped at the playground. It scared him. It was this whole thing where I think he just needed that like grow up experience of like, okay, like I'm going to learn how to do this for real.
Did you pay those kids to jump him?
No, no. But ever since then, I think it was like a really good. So my point is like, I don't know that he thinks to himself, I can beat up everybody at school, because I think like he needed that like humbling check of like, maybe, you know, there is somebody who's going to jump me or something. I don't think he's afraid of it, but I just watched him as a child be like, well, 4 months did nothing. Like, I better train harder.
Yeah.
And Henry had to come back to jiu-jitsu, and he had to really want to do it after he stepped away. And I think like it was the same kind of thing where it was like a big grown up step for a child to be like, yes, I'm going to do this for real. I'm going to come back and train. So I don't know. It's been great for them to do it. And I told them that I want them to do this in some capacity until they're grown and forever, as long as they want to. I mean, they get to choose, but at the end of the day, there's so much value, so many lessons, like even just like the coming back when you don't want to, and like training when you don't feel like it, being humbled over and over and over again. And then building confidence. So like the humbling part's cool, but then it's like, oh, well, I've got skills that I can use. Like, I don't have to be walking around afraid. I don't think they walk around afraid. I think they walk around thinking like...
They certainly shouldn't.
Yeah, I think they walk around feeling confident. But I think like that being jumped on the playground was a good gut check.
Yeah. I would love for someone to jump Logan now.
I wouldn't.
It wouldn't go well for the jumper. Let's just say that.
Yeah. So I don't. Watching the kids, and not just mine, but the other ones, like participate and kind of grow up and become
become homies and teammates.
Cool.
And also like teammates on one hand, but kind of rivals too.
Yeah.
Like Logan and Hayden.
Oh yeah, Logan's like, he wants to come back and see like,
how do I do against Hayden? Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, they grew up on the mats together and they've been fucking each other up for years. And that kind of keeps you hungry, you know? I say all the time, like there's 3 different types of teammates. There's teammates that fucking demolish you. Then there's teammates that when you slap and bump, it's a coin flip and you don't know what's about to happen. And then there's dudes that you just kick the shit out of. And it's like, I'm going to get reps on arm bars today, you know? The hardest rounds for me, and it's Daniel. He's my coin flip in here, right? We don't really know what's going to happen. And so those are the teammates that I tell people to seek often, because it really forces you to bring your A game, because if you drop below your A game, things are going to fall apart. But if you play everything right, you're going to come out on top. Whereas if it's like me and Joao, I know the end result of that roll. We both already know it. Now I might have some like micro victories, or if I get a guard pass or something, like I go home feeling fuck yeah, dude, you know? But the ones that you don't know, it's kind of like no man's land. Seek those fucking rounds.
Yeah. I think that's when you know somebody's leveled up too, is when you go from having to not know to, so when you have full confidence that you're not worried about it. And then all of a sudden you like zone out for a minute and then you realize, oh shit.
Dude, I had a night right before my surgery, and it was weird because I have been on this trajectory for like 3 months where I literally feel like I'm twice as good as I was 3 months ago. I was like, dude, I can take down an armbar. Anyone right now, like everything, when everything is just firing right, your timing's on point, you're in shape, your cardio's good, and it's like you start to feel unstoppable. And then one of the last nights I went with, I think it was like my Blue Belt Mafia. I went with Marcus, I went with Jake, I went with
Thompson or Chechny?
Chechny. I went with Zach, all the tough technical blue belts, and all of them were giving me problems. And I remember after the night, I was thinking, okay, one of two things. I'm having an off night, or this army of savages are fucking catching up with you.
It's the latter.
They're good.
Yeah,
Like-
and on one hand, it's like, fuck, dude. And then the other hand, it's like, dude, this army that we're building together is now one day going to be able to be equals to me. Isn't that what we fucking want? I think there's always going to be an element of ego involved because losing doesn't feel good. And that's just a fact. Some people don't care. And like, I've thought a lot about this because like Gordon Ryan says he gets submitted 20 times a night and he's the best in the world right now. There's something to that, right? I don't like losing. When we're rolling, I'm here to win.
Yeah.
Now I'll let you work if I have a substantially higher skill level than you.
Oh yeah. But it's not a gimme at all.
No, and it's Lappin articulated it best. He said, I'll let you work, but I won't let you tap me. So if you tap me, please believe you earned it, because that's another thing. Sometimes black belts get caught and they want to be like, well, it's like to shut the fuck up and let that person,
you're no excuses.
Let that person have their victory. Even if you did say like, let's let this guy get on my back and see what happens. And then he chokes you out. You let him have that victory and you don't say any of that stuff. You guys haven't experienced it because none of my black belts would do this. And if they do, I want to know. But something that's kind of notorious in the jiu-jitsu world is like, you get on a black belt's back and then he'll be like, oh, good. Feed that collar to this hand. There you go. Yeah, get this. Yeah, that grip right there. Perfect. Now pull from this angle. Yep, there you go. Perfect. That's how you finish that choke. And what they did is they took their impending loss as an opportunity to coach you through the submission.
I've definitely not experienced that.
You won't fucking have that here.
I mean, Kozak will help, positionally.
Don't even mention
like
Kozak's name in the same sentence with those guys, because it's like, dude.
Or he'll be like, keep going, move that.
But that's not what he's saying. He's saying like they lost the position,
right?
And so instead of just like
accepting it,
instead of trying to fight out of it and possibly losing, they find this little path that allows them to not look like it's a loss.
That's ridiculous.
Fuck you.
That's ridiculous.
Dude,
I don't learn from that.
Here's another thing, and I've been fortunate too, because when I moved to California, all the black belts, they were on the competition circuit. They wanted to train hard every single night. But something that you see in some jiu-jitsu cultures is the black belts, they don't get in the mix very much anymore. Yeah. And they just kind of sit out and observe, and they're not rolling all the time. And listen, if you're older and you're hurt or whatever, like I get it, right? But look at Mark. Mark's 53.
He's rad.
Mark's fucking Mark has more fucking ailments than all three of us put together. Yeah. And he doesn't miss a round. Nope. Period. And the thing about Mark as a black belt, dude, some of these fucking young savages that are coming up through the ranks, they're starting to figure him out. And I see some of the guys having some success with him. He doesn't care.
No.
He'll tap out if you catch him and get back up and let's finish the round. That's the only black belts are supposed to be leading by example. And any fucking like hiding or excuses or trying to fucking take away from someone's loss or victory, any of that shit, it stifles the culture of the gym, What's the biggest impact jiu-jitsu has had on your life?
Oh my gosh.
And like I said before we started recording, I don't do questions on my show, but since we're doing the Jiu Jitsu Chronicles, I'm going to ask a lot of our teammates these similar questions, because there's some people that were like suicidal and now they have a new lease on life. Like some people, it's so fucking impactful for.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm some people.
There you go.
It's such a profound impact. Like I feel like if I saw me 4 years ago, I'd be like, who's she? Like, I feel like everything has changed. Like my relationships, like both with the team, like we have a strong team. And like, I feel like we all really, really like love each other. And like, I know like if I miss a practice, somebody's on Instagram, hey, where you at? Where were you? And like, I love that. But like, I would say, I mean, my physical health is way better. I'm in better shape. I mean, I feel like you can't start jujitsu and not experience some kind of like weight loss, strength training, little body transformation. Like, I don't think that happens.
I don't think it happens either because.
And look at our team. Like I could rattle off five names like right now who's had a transformation physically.
Big Jake.
Yeah.
Jake.
Stephen Hand.
Jake. Steven.
Aaron.
Like
all these
Zach.
people. Yeah. Oh, dude, Zach.
Like when
He looks like a different person.
Yeah, when
He is
Evan
a different
came
person.
and visited last week, he's like, "Oh my God, I barely recognized him." I was like, "I know, right? Isn't he fantastic?" Like it's amazing. But like, yeah, the physical transformation, I feel for something that can be so aggressive, I feel more calm, which sounds weird because we all know I'm a spaz. Like
Your spazziness is starting to evaporate.
It's less.
It's less, but
It's
like
way less.
let's be clear, you gave me a blue belt, but I still have white belt spaz for
No.
No,
You have
no,
blue
no,
belt
no.
spaz,
Okay.
and it's waning rapidly.
It's still there.
No, because here's the thing. Like I've trained with you
Just
probably
so more than anyone.
Yeah.
And you used to just step on me. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that does not happen anymore.
Yeah.
No, there was like we can call it spaz, and because it's gone now, I think it was just an element of clumsiness.
It was coordination.
and
Because
that's-
Rachel, we opened up with the episode where you're like, "Fuck, I didn't invest in athletics when I was a kid," you know.
But something I think about is something that Christy said. I don't remember if it was your podcast or someone else's, or maybe it was just in conversation, but it was like coming into your body and being an athlete later in life. Like you have to adjust. Like I mean, as a woman and as a mom, like I really struggled with weight issues, body image issues, all of that. And I'm pretty happy where I'm at. Like, sure, there's more work to be done.
There's always more work to be done, but if you can be happy with
Right.
where you're at, that's the win.
But if you didn't do ball sports, you weren't a gymnast, you weren't
It's like I'm
dancer.
an infant as an athlete versus, and I think that's what I was alluding to earlier. Like when I said I didn't consider myself to be an athlete because I didn't have the experience.
But you are an athlete because here's the thing, because I've gotten to see bodies move for so long. You can tell when someone has zero training age because they
100%.
just move like
Yeah.
big dumpy elephants. And
Yeah.
you're like, what is wrong with
Yeah.
this? But then
Bull in a china closet right
Although
here.
elephants are graceful as fuck, dude.
they are graceful.
Okay, well,
I guess.
I'm not that then.
But maybe it's the elephant because you would step on me and
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh.
Well,
But it's just that athleticism to me is starting to put together, strength, coordination, skill, and using it for something, whether that's throwing a ball, whether that's jumping over something, whether that's like navigating a field or doing jujitsu. You are 100% an athlete, and you were an athlete the moment you started. It's just that like you had to develop some of those coordination patterns, the movement patterns, and that's great.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest elements of being an athlete that doesn't get discussed enough is, I'm going to fuck the word up, but proprioception.
Yeah. It's
That's a hard
huge.
one.
Understanding where and how your body is occupying time and space, right? And if you don't have that, it's like you throw a ball at a kid, it hits his chest, and then he goes, oh,
Yeah.
and looks at the ground, right? Like, and I didn't grow up with ball sports. And like catching things, that's a huge part of that. Understanding where my body occupies time and space. I'm watching something coming at me, and I have to adjust my body in a manner to meet it at the correct time and space and catch it. And that's why like I got into juggling, because I was like, dude, I don't have very good coordination with catching things, and balance. Like I get on that endo board, and that builds that too. that's what's starting to, I think for you, when you call it clumsy or spazzy, I think it's people that have a hard time not only understanding the space they're occupying, but the path to the next space that they're trying to occupy.
Which makes sense because then you would move your arm and it went to the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Or you move your foot and it did, or you don't realize your body did something.
Well, and again,
so,
go back to, and we won't call him out by name on the podcast, but the kid that you were saying you threw on the ground or whatever, for months, every night I'd see him over at the first aid station holding his nose with blood.
Yeah, he was a bleeder.
Squirting out of his nose.
He was a bleeder.
And I started wondering, like, why is this kid profusely bleeding every single night? Like, I get it. Like,
and he had been around a while, and I think that's what was very perplexing.
On one hand,
me.
I get, like, some people are more predisposed. Some people's noses needed to be cauterized, all that shit, right? So I was like, dude, let's get around in. And we squared up, and he lunged forward and smashed his face into my fist as I was trying to make a grip. I'm shooting my hand up to make a grip, and he goes, wham! And I said, bro, you literally just made me punch you in the face. And then his nose went, whoosh, and blood started going everywhere. I said to him verbatim, I said, now I know why you bleed every night, because you're doing shit like that.
Yeah.
You got to stop that. But that's the far other end of the spectrum of someone that's like, they don't understand the space they're occupying at all. They're like on day one of that journey, you know? And he might have been on day 200. Some lessons are harder to learn for some people than others. But your spazziness is fucking on its way out or almost gone now. I love it, dude.
It's fun to notice that myself. And like you talk a lot about invisible jujitsu and finding it. Oh, I love that. I don't remember what happened, but it was probably within the last 4 to 6 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, if I just do this. And like, you couldn't see it.
Yes.
But my training partner was like, whoa. I was like, okay,
dude,
there's the magic.
When you are rolling with somebody, it's literally 50% physical and 50% psychological. And I have fallen in love with defeating people on a psychological level.
I love that.
And that's a huge part of jiu-jitsu. And I honestly think that's why so many people fall in love with it, because it's like you're at the track doing sprints, but you're playing chess at the same time. Yeah. I can't think of another activity outside of fighting that hones the mind and the body at the highest level simultaneously. And now lately I've been taking these, like the toughest guys on our team, and I'm trying to break their will. I'm not trying to break their arm. I'm trying to break their spirit. And like, did I tell you guys what I did to Easton? And dude, Easton is
he's amazing.
He's one of my favorite success stories of the gym.
Yeah, he's great.
He came in, he signed up. Within a week of training, he blew his ACL. And I was like, well, that's probably it for that
We
kid.
went through a phase of that.
Yeah.
Like 2020, we had a lot of knee injuries.
And as soon as he was able to train again, he came back. And he went from having no understanding of the things we've been talking about, the space you occupy, like balance, mobility. And he's as tough as a blue belt as any of them now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, all right, Easton's ready to get pushed psychologically. And so I was putting enough pressure to get him to tap to pressure. And just a really, really mean crossface and just doing all the things. And I saw his hand go like this. And then he like pulled it back in and made a fist and like started to make a grip. And then I saw him do it again. And then he's like, I could see him saying like, I want to quit, but I'm not going to fucking quit. And then the bell went off and I said, did you think about quitting this round? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, I was right on the cusp of quitting a couple times, which I already knew because I felt his energy and I watched him go through these motions where he was on the verge of tapping. I said, I know. I said, I watched it happen in real time. He goes, but I decided I wasn't gonna. I was like, and how fucking good does that feel? And it put him in a, like, he was fucking glowing with how proud he was. And people might think that sounds crazy, but to go from where he was to someone that's a motherfucker now and doesn't have quit in him, fucking A.
It's
That's
amazing.
what it's about.
I've also noticed, like, probably my first year, I'd be like, okay, this round I'm going to do this, or I'm going to hunt arm bars, or whatever the case. I think it's probably been within the last year or so, but very consistently, I'm like, when we slap and bump, my mind goes blank. I don't plan anymore.
Good.
And I feel like that has been a really big game changer, because I'm going to be like, well, you know what? Whatever happens is going to happen, and I will react hopefully appropriately.
I mean, you guys hear me say it all the time. You can have an encyclopedia of jiu-jitsu, but what can you access now?
Yeah.
And you can't, if you have to think about it, it's too late. Mm-hmm. Like if someone's shooting on you and you're like, I better sprawl, you're on the ground.
Right.
It has to be second nature.
Yeah.
And the only way to hone that is just to go in and see what happens. Mm-hmm. You know?
I mean, I like trying to get move of the day. I think it's funny. Like Matt is notorious, and he'll proclaim it just to mess with me because it's funny. He'll be like, move of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn it.
Well,
I
dude,
should have known.
Again, there's no right or wrong, right? There are days when I'm like, all right, I've been trying, or all I hunt is arm bars. Today I'm only triangling people. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
Yeah.
So you kind of set rules for yourself, right? But you still have to, a lot of things have to happen correctly for you to be triangling someone, you know?
And it's not going to work on everyone. Like some of the time, depending on who I'm rolling with, I'm like, okay, I know this person is susceptible to this, like mental note, tuck it away. But
that's when you get to know your teammates. It's cool.
Well, that's the thing. I think we all know each other pretty damn well.
Uh-huh.
And it creates challenges.
Well, it's, on one hand, it's challenges. And then on other hands, it can start to create almost what you'd call training scars. Because it's like, oh, I know what this person's going to do. And now you start to kind of war game it a little bit, which is, again, why I like to invite other academies on Friday. Because put your hands on someone that you've never put your hands on before.
It's different.
It's very different.
You know? Especially if they're a fucking... You got around with a purple belt not too long ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forget who she was.
I forget who she was.
Was it Olivia?
She was a purple belt girl.
Yeah, I think it was Olivia. Yeah,
Because she doesn't train very much, but when she does, I'm always like, I think it was
She doesn't train.
Bill's wife.
She doesn't train here very much.
No, but she'll visit and
Yeah.
like chill on the sidelines.
Yeah, and it's
She's
not typical
good.
for me. It's not often to get to train against someone who is same size, the same belt that I don't.
You
never
don't
seen
know.
before.
Yeah. And that round was pretty gnarly.
It was a hard round, and I played defense intentionally. Like I felt like I didn't know her, so I was feeling it out.
It's first date rules. There's different things going on. It's not full-fledged competition. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to fucking
But she was
kill
going really
this person.
hard.
But yeah, but it's also, hey, let's see what fucking happens.
I thought it was a great round because I think she was working really hard. She was not expecting my defense. And when I did go for my attacks, she was not comfortable. So I think it was like a really good balance of like, I mean, nobody got submitted. We just had a hard round.
No, it's fucking rad. Did you have any thoughts on how it's impacted your life the most?
It's really hard to say that because I loved hearing like Rachel's sort of physical, mental, athletic transformation.
Which you went through that via a different route, which you already talked about.
Yeah, a different route. But jiu-jitsu's sort of been this rock for me over the past 5 years where I feel like it has been this place where I can grow and do something different and hard. But Rachel has been super key for me as a training partner because she has been so consistent. I think there have been times where I might have been less consistent if it wasn't for her being like, are you coming? Like, are you coming? Are you coming? And
once you can't let someone down, it's like...
It's the accountability. It's the team.
I'm as consistent at things as you can get for the things that you want to do. But I shared, like there was plenty of times where you don't feel like coming. So having somebody text you and be like, are you coming?
I didn't know you texted her all the time.
She still
not
does.
all the time, but like, but she's gone through a super busy season with the boys in football.
And hard. So like, let's be real. Like I went through a hard year and jiu-jitsu has been an important rock for me. Like both from people who actually give a shit and who want to make sure I'm okay to being like, hey, I just being a rock. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's kind of how it's been impactful for me. It's been community and connection. Like a lot of the guys here are like brothers to me. They deeply care about me. I know they do. I care about them, but it's like, oh, these are like family. Like if I needed them, they would come. Of course you would too. It's like having a brother. And then it's in, like you said it before, real community is usually a mixture of skill sets and people. So it's like through your seminar, I got introduced to David. That's been super helpful in my life, like to have like some healing work, some spirituality that I've never had before.
Yeah.
I met that's
Yeah, you're
through
going
here.
to Costa Rica with him.
Right. That's through here
fucking
that I
rad.
met that. I started doing some basic firearm stuff through here. That was a lifelong fear I had of firearms that I addressed through our Jiu Jitsu Academy. There's just been more and more examples of that. Even when I was struggling, it doesn't seem, I know that most people are like, oh, she works out all the time, but when life's tough, it's tough sometimes. So it's through here that I was like, hey, Rachel, the other Rachel, can I just tag along with your workouts? Like I'm working out at home, but it sucks. And like, I just need a buddy. So Rachel Novak and I, like we worked out together for like a week and then our schedules never aligned again. I just needed somebody to latch on to that I could go to the gym with and just kind of reestablish a new routine.
Like you said, that initial step.
And
Yeah.
I just needed that. And I met her through jujitsu because our kids were doing jujitsu together and that's where we initially met. And so that's how it's been important for me. It's been a community and a place to grow and a place to connect and a place for support when you need it. And also a place for fun and laughter and lightness, like all of those things.
It's so much more than the physical. Like I think I alluded to it, like my relationship with Matt is fantastic. Like we didn't have a difficult relationship prior, but like it sounds so cliche, but like every aspect of my life is better because of jiu-jitsu. And like
It's not cliche, it's fact.
but it's so,
you know?
and not to be like dramatic or emotional, like I am so profoundly grateful to you. And like, I know you're like, it's not me, but like people.
I take credibility for building the walls and starting the team.
Well, and it's like you opened the door and we had to walk through it.
And I'd be foolish to say if I didn't have a profound impact on setting the culture, right? But this place is just this place could run on its own.
It's magic.
Because the culture has attracted a lot of people that share the same type of energy. And now it's growing exponentially and it'll never stop.
And I get to share this with my boys. Like that's so valuable.
I hear that so much, dude.
And the fact that like I'm doing it and they're doing it and we have something that we share, not as like mom, sons, but like as humans.
Yeah.
That's priceless.
Well, dude, in like yesterday for me was a perfect example because we had the whole team here and we watched fights and I was watching you and I'm like, dude, she's talking to all these girls that aren't even part of our team, but they're part of our culture. And you were talking to Jenny and Ange and Jamie Lynn, and it's like, we're all connected through jiu-jitsu, even though none of those three girls do jiu-jitsu, and they're very close friends of yours, you know? And it's like, cool, we get to bond in a level that like, I don't think you get to find in any other activity.
Well, it's like we said at Guns and Geese this summer. I don't remember who said it, but like the people who are doing Taekwondo aren't at the bonfire
talking about Taekwondo.
talking about it.
And I think you could do
Or
this.
then crocheting or whatever you said it was. Like it's amazing.
I don't know. I just imagine that there probably would be other scenarios that you could create community, connection, growth, all of it, because you could take different components and put it together and be like this. The problem is that it's hard to find something that's like bonding like that also facilitates family and community because I'm sure, I mean, you're a combat veteran. That experience probably bonded you with those people.
For sure.
It's different though when you can have family involved. Different though.
Jiu-Jitsu bond, this team I feel more bonded with than the guys I was in Ramadi with. And that's not taking anything away from those men. Like a lot of those guys I'm close with to this day. But whatever that is, it's like we're going through hard shit together and it makes us really close. And I think that that's just part of the human experience is because since the beginning of time, if you don't rely on people, you're probably not going to be around very long because the world was difficult and fucking dangerous. And so that's why war brings us back to that primal feeling of like, dude, I love this man because I have to rely on him. and vice versa. And even though we're not dying on the mats, our physiology doesn't know that. We're going through something extremely difficult and dangerous. And I think that the psychology aspect of it is the exact same. The other thing that I've thought a lot about it's a theory I've come up with lately that I haven't heard anyone else talk about. But the reason that I think jiu-jitsu is more bonding than taekwondo or boxing or kickboxing, and I've done so many other martial arts, is, dude, we're giving a Rachel Anderson level hug for 6 minutes.
Right.
Our bodies are physically connected
Yes.
for 6 minutes. And dude, like you look at the science of grounding, like when your body physically touches another body or it touches ground, there's an energy exchange. And if you do that with someone for 6 minutes, it does something.
It's like, I don't know about you guys. I feel like for some people it's weird. Like I crave it. Like if I miss a practice or something, I'm jonesing to get back. Like
Dude, everybody craves it.
but like the idea of like grabbing your collar and like, we're going, like I crave that. And it's just such a,
Sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt you.
please. Like, it's just such a, it's like a primal need. It's not sexual. It's
not
not
sexual.
weird. I mean, I know I probably do more That's What She Said's on the mat than anybody else. But like,
Every once in a while, you'll give me a
I
little
had
comment.
a
that
really
it's
good
like,
one the other day. I had a real good one.
I don't know how I feel about this right now, Rachel Anderson.
But like, there's something to that physical connection with another person and this nonverbal conversation.
Well, it was funny because coming back to jiu-jitsu in 2020, and I was very nervous for my mom, to be honest. In that season, I wasn't so nervous for me, but I was nervous for my mom. She's older, she's overweight, and I was like, like, am I an asshole for coming to jiu-jitsu?
No.
You know, and that was genuinely.
Wait, I'm not.
Like COVID time.
COVID time,
Oh,
2020.
okay.
So when I came back to
See,
jiu-jitsu,
my brain is so far outside of that I'm like,
so
what are you fucking talking about, Christy?
But what I'm saying is like I was excited to come back, and I remember going through the bow out line on the first day and being like, these are my first hugs in a long time.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, because you're like distance and stay away from everybody, and I'm like, here we are hugging each other, and
Dude.
it was amazing. And again, like I said, like I think my only concern at the time was my mom, because she lived with me, and I was like, am I an asshole? And then I was like, you know what, it's all gonna be all right. But the physical touch of like actually having connection with people, we don't do well without it.
Intimacy is not, I think our culture has lost touch that when you hear the word intimacy, you think of sexual intimacy, which is just part of intimacy. All that other physical touch is a level of intimacy. Our bow out is a level of intimacy.
It is. It's you literally
It's so
look
special.
at everyone and either grab their hand or give them some version of a hug. And that's a thing.
And you know what's crazy about it is like everybody gives me a different energy. You know what I mean? You can feel people that are like proud. You can feel people that are grateful. You can feel people that are just like literally just, I'm just going to give you some love. You know, again, it's not a sexual love. It's just like, I'm fucking grateful that you did this, that you coached today.
Yeah.
And I just want to give you some love. And it's fucking crazy. Everybody's energy's felt and everybody's happy about it.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
You know?
I have to say something about the culture and everything about here, because I do think that the shared hardship, the physical touch, the support, all of those things create a community. But I mean, I'm not saying this to blow smoke up your ass. It's not just the walls that you built, it's the culture that you continue to create. Like ultimately, this can't happen without leadership, because it drives the train and it teaches people how to show up. And so there are people in the room who are, most of them are amazing people that show up differently because that's what's expected here. And so when there's strong leadership and when there are values that are put in place and you're like, these are the values of our gym and this is what we're about, you continue to reinforce that. And I don't even know if you do it on purpose, but I notice it because I pay attention to those things, that like there are times at bow out when you're like, this is what we're about and this is what's going on and here's this. Or like, hey, reminder, this is how we are at this gym. Reminder, this is how we treat new people. Reminder, this is how we treat girls. reminder, like this is what's coming up and how we're going to deal with it. Like those things are what create the space in which people can become better. And that would not happen without that kind of leadership.
And you're honest about it.
I have to be honest about it, because if you're not honest, you're full of shit, you know?
But it's also not judgmental, because there are people who have different opinions, people who are slightly, you know, that's the beauty for me in a good community with a strong leader, is it allows people to come in from different backgrounds and different spaces. And in this place, this is what we are.
This is who we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that may mean that they might be able to show up differently somewhere else in a different way. But that's why this is special.
Dude, that means a lot. I love hearing that. You know, a perfect example of that is somebody showed up that you knew from your past, and on day one, the interaction wasn't the greatest.
It was so bizarre. And now I look back and it's like, whatever. It's fine.
No, but to what Christy said, I think that person, I know that person, really had a talk with himself and said, man, this culture is this.
Yeah.
And showed up with a very different energy.
Yeah.
And has since fucking like, that's water under the bridge.
Yeah.
We're all friends here.
Yeah.
And dude, I need this place. Like very emotional. I've gotten a very emotional thank yous from him.
Yeah.
About how in a short amount of time, the culture here has impacted his life greatly. Whereas right out of the gates, there's a little bit of pushback to that culture because he didn't know yet, right?
But it was also new. And
yeah.
like we're used to doing all of these things. And he, you know, is a guy in his, I don't remember how old he is. He's in his mid 40s trying something new. And like, let's be real, trying new things is hard. Like I didn't start jujitsu until I was 34. And like, we always talk about it. Like,
I wish I started when I was younger.
Exactly. So like the Logans and the Henrys of the world, I'm like, damn it.
The Elijahs of the world.
Oh yeah. Elijah's great.
He's 8. He's 8 and he already moves like,
and
maybe a black belt.
And
I was going to say a brown belt.
Oh my God, Oliver.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, because we're already 17 minutes over. I try and keep the shows at 2 hours now. What monetary amount would be required for you to sell your jiu-jitsu knowledge and show up tomorrow, day one white belt?
I thought you were going to say like to give it all up.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that too. I'm like, nothing.
There's no number for that. But like to start over, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, because you would have to look at it like a 5 years of work, right? So for me, I can't have the life that I now live without my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
If I showed up tomorrow with a white belt level of knowledge, my whole world implodes. So for me, you could offer me $100 million and the answer has to be no.
Yeah.
Because I cannot be me without my jiu-jitsu. But you guys are you're not 20 years in, you're 4 years in.
Yeah. 3.5.
3.5. So is it that powerful at that level? I'm curious.
Yeah.
No amount of money, huh?
No amount.
Fuck yeah.
No, not to give that up. No, you couldn't buy that. No. But if the question is, like I shared with the body part after I had Georgia and I had to start over, where I really truly felt like, okay, could I do this again?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Then the answer would be yes, because there's so much value in that white belt mentality of like, I got to start over. I'm just beginning this journey. So that piece, yes, but like there's no price that you can give me to give you those things that we've acquired through hard work and repetition, which is ultimately like what we should be proud to hold on to. That is priceless, because that's the part that you can't buy, because nobody can pay for that, right? Nobody can buy that from you, hard work and repetition or the time on the mats. So it is priceless all by itself.
100%.
I'm predicting that everybody arrives at that answer.
Yeah. It's
over
a
the next
unique
couple months.
question for sure. It's not what I thought you were going to ask.
Well, I mean, that's something that I think about is like, would I give up? What would it take for me to give up jiu-jitsu?
I would not do it.
And it's literally impossible because it defines who I am at this point.
And that's one of the things, like, it's like, I've been relatively lucky in not having like catastrophic injuries, but that's something that I think about a lot. Like if I get hurt, I can't roll. Like if I broke my ankle, my arm, whatever, like that scares me enough to rein it back in. Like there's nothing I will not let anything get in the way.
Man, it makes me think of Jack who came yesterday. And I don't know if you saw him walk up. He's having a hard time walking, right? And I told him, I said, Jack, you're going to fucking do a backflip right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he was, before his injury, I would say arguably the most athletic guy on the team.
Oh my God, yes.
Absolutely.
We got some freak raw athletes like Wes, Wes, very good athlete. Marcus, freak athlete, right? Jack, there was something different about him.
Jack was super fast, and I mean,
he'd leave
dynamic.
practice and then go play at a local soccer league, like nightly, like jiu-jitsu, and then right to soccer.
That's tiring.
Yeah, it's fucking tiring.
That's tiring.
But now that I started thinking about Jack when he started saying like having to relearn, because I'm like, I bet he has to go through a period of relearning jiu-jitsu. But guess what? This team's going to be there right alongside him for that whole fucking journey.
100%. And there's such humility in it. Like once I got my blue belt, things felt differently, but I'm like, it's the same. I'm still on the journey. I'm still like, I don't know all the things. I'm never going to know all the things. So having that humility, like, I don't care about my belt color. Yes. Do I want you to tie a black belt around my waist? Absolutely. Is it going to happen? God, I hope so. But
Hey, as long as you keep showing up.
just keep showing
and
up.
that's the thing. Like, there's such humility in continuing to show up and continuing to learn and being.
Unless I buy my sailboat and disappear before that.
I really hope you don't do that, but I do support you in all of your endless endeavors.
You know what's been funny about this podcast is it's kind of been cool. I did a podcast with Victor, Victor's
Yeah,
awesome.
of course.
And it was very like, what's it like being a girl in jiu-jitsu, and it was very cool because that was the purpose of it. He was trying to expose more people to jiu-jitsu and not be about like that one of the things. We didn't really talk about that at all. This was just like, what's Rachel and Christy's experience in jiu-jitsu?
Well, you know what? If the truth be told, your sex, I mean, obviously we have physical differences between men and women. And you talked about some of the the big, strong dudes smashing you and stuff like that. But the psychological part of the journey, it's going to be the fucking same for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, and I think like from a male versus female perspective, like, I think it's just etiquette. Like, honestly, like it doesn't matter if you're a guy or girl, you're going to appreciate a clean gi. You're going to appreciate because I feel like for women, especially, some women are like, ew, gross.
My wife is one of them.
Most.
And like, you're going to get drops of sweat in unpleasant places. You're like, it's not always amazing, but at the same time, it's always amazing.
Well, and dude, that's actually, it's funny because I've talked to Ange about this too. And she's like, if you wanted to give me like some private lessons, I'd feel comfortable learning some jiu-jitsu stuff. But she's like, I'm not just going out there with everybody. That's fucking disgusting.
Yeah. It's just etiquette.
Most women feel like that.
Yeah. It's just etiquette.
And like I always say, do you want to learn and deal with disgustingness in a controlled environment with people you like and people you choose? Or do you want to learn about disgustingness in a dark alley behind Walmart when you're trying to load groceries in the back of your car, Or
just not go to Walmart in the dark. I don't know.
I always use Walmart because, as you know.
Oh, yes.
You can go 10 minutes up the road from here and see some of the strangest human beings you've ever seen in your entire fucking life.
Oh, yeah. We have a Walmart in my town.
Walmart will not be sponsoring the podcast anytime
Walmart's
soon.
removed their sponsorship.
Christy, where can people find you? Because I know you talked a lot about coaching, nutrition, but what we didn't go into is that's actually your profession these days. So if anyone's listening that was inspired by your words or your methodology to this stuff, where can they find you?
So on Instagram at Christy May Campbell. And then I do a short form podcast called Fit Me Coffee Talk. It's like 10 to 15 minutes. I put it out a couple times a week. But I work with women mostly. I mean, completely actually all women. And
have you ever had a dude try and join Fit Me?
No, I mean, I used to coach guys in the past. I mean,
as a CrossFit coach.
Yeah, and nutrition in the past, but not for Fit Me.
But Fit Me is exclusively for women.
It's exclusively for women. And
man, someone's going to sue you for that. I mean, sexist.
Super sexist. But yeah, in January, we're starting a brand new program. And really what's cool about it, if is, in my opinion, it asks you to take ownership over your journey. It's very different because it's going to give people support and tools and a path, but the buy-in is that you actually want to do something. You actually want to change. Like, so it doesn't matter how much money you pay me. Like, this has to be your thing to do it. And so I've
I'm
changed
gonna
my
edit
program.
that part out because that sounds too similar to the program I'm launching.
Well, I'll help you with yours and you can help me with mine. But that's what it is. So if you have a woman in your life that would benefit from a place that's going to help her be better and take better care of herself, that's what this is. Yes, it's the vehicle of fitness and nutrition, but ultimately it's about like taking ownership over the life you want and being connected with really good people along the way. So that's what the program is.
Fuck yeah, I love it.
That's awesome.
Rachel Anderson, any last thoughts?
No, this was amazing. Thank you.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Maybe after this podcast, you can be my sister or my wife.
I feel like
Sister wives is a thing.
I don't know that would be appreciated. It might be. I don't know.
I love it. All right. Thank you guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Bye.